Hey, welcome welcome all to the latest episode of Granny's Peach Tea. Uh, with me as always is Tony and Jason, who's enjoying his mason jar of Granny's Peach Tea. That's like your trademark now, dude. Like,
It's become. You know what? I planned it. I wanted this to be my trademark. I'm going to drink my peach tea every week. My reactions will be around my peach tea. It's so sweet and so good.
Yeah, as we're hoping that everyone feels about the show every week. I mean, people seem to be enjoying it. We're getting great feedback, so thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the live show. We're super excited to get this thing going, and if you're joining us, I know some other time, then that's awesome too, man. Like whenever you get to it. But just geek out with us, man. Geek out with us all that you can, anytime, any place. Exactly. If you're joining us on the Granny's Peach Tea Facebook fan page, thank you. Pop Culture Pros fan page, awesome. Empire 161, put it in the books. I know Boss Man is sharing it all out everywhere now to every section of the internet or multiverse or whatever the heck it is. Then he's sharing it everywhere. So that's awesome. But if you're also looking for the show too, we do have an audio only version, which is on. You can find it on iTunes or you can find us on Google Play. Or I believe it's also on Spotify. So, if that's your jam, then go for that. If you're driving somewhere and you want to give us a listen, go ahead. If you're at the gym or wherever the heck you are, if you're going for a walk somewhere, then pop it on and give us a listen.
And hey, we won't take it personally that you want to look at us. It's fine. Nah. That's fine. Just listen. It's okay.
I wouldn't want to look at us either, so don't feel bad.
I'm looking at us right now. I'm with you, Tony.
Exactly. So, you guys check anything out besides the material at hand this week? Anything? Did you read anything? Did you see anything, extra otherwise? Any movies, any shows, or did we just stick to the homework this week?
The homework was enough because I watched the Justice League trailer about 47 times. And then, Wonder Woman was just a joy to watch again. I just kind of fell into it. And it was really great to have that on the after last week's debacle. It was really nice to have a good movie to watch this week. So I was happy about that. And I was really it. I mean, I just kind of stuck to the to the homework. And then WandaVision I had to watch like 3 times because that's just I'm completely addicted to that show.
Yeah, it's like crack. Jason, what do you got anything?
I attempted to go back and start a rewatch of Black Lightning, but I couldn't find it on HBO Max. So I have to find I don't know if maybe I just wasn't looking enough. It was late. I was tired. I had a bit too much peach tea, if you know what I mean. So maybe I just didn't find it. But that's kind of my next thing. Like I'm stuck right now. I get stuck in bulk rewatches, and I am right now. You guys are my Facebook friends, and I will just post about this randomly. You guys know I am locked in a Star Trek: The Next Generation, like tunnel vision, following it to the end. So I couldn't really go outside of that. But I did try to do Black Lightning, and I just couldn't find it. But yeah, so the answer is no, Eddie. I did not watch anything else.
Oh, that's cool. Listen, actually, this week I mentioned you guys pre-show that I stumbled upon Shazam because I was clicking around and we'll get to that in a few weeks, how much I love Shazam. And I started watching that, but then I'm like, I'm going to watch this again in 2 weeks. So I'm going to start doing things around the house that I should be doing instead of watching Shazam for the 6,000th time. And also, Boss is telling us that, we are on Spotify and iHeartRadio. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Check us out on.
Check us out.
Thanks, Boss.
Yeah, so that's cool. I didn't get anything. I know the last couple of weeks I always text you guys about when I watched a new animated movie because I seen it was knocking those off, Deathstroke Knights and Dragons. I think is really cool. That's on HBO Max. That was super violent, by the way. It's really over the top violent. I loved it. It was kind of like Quentin Tarantino doing a DC animated movie. It was that bad. It was not bad, but really good. And then it was Superman, Man of Tomorrow, which I watched alongside of Man of Steel when I know we were doing that because I wanted to compare how they attack the origin stories. I was gonna do the Wonder Woman Bloodlines one, but I didn't get around to it, so I might end up catching up on that. I'm catching all the ones that once I heard HBO Max was announced, I'm like, I'm not buying these things anymore.
No,
I'm just gonna wait for HBO Max now. Screw this.
I did. One thing I did watch this week was I did get to catch. Thank you, Kyle and Jader's show right?
Yeah,
And they went over super bad.
Love it.
Bro, I had so many flashbacks for that movie. Watching that show, I was cracking up. Just this when they're just firing off quotes, and I was like, "Oh God, it's been so long since I saw this movie." But hey, they did a great job breaking it down. It was very enjoyable. I recommend everybody check that out.
Yeah, definitely. I love Superbad. I joined in some of that too, and that was one of my favorite comedies. I think over like the last, I don't know, man, how long did it come out now?
Well, there are no comedies anymore, so now it's just
yeah,
can't make comedies anymore.
That's true.
Nope, nobody wants to make comedies anymore. Now it's all about comic book movies, which keeps us employed. So hey, why not?
It does.
This is true. This is true. Well, speaking of a big one that we got coming up, the trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League dropped on Valentine's Day to show his love for everyone in the comic book movie fandom. Zack blessed us with this trailer. I saw it that morning. I was like super excited. Tony watched it 47 times. I had to mind hypnotize Jason to make sure that he watched that trailer because we're trying to, for the sake of the show, we're watching.
True.
We're trying to get Jason's not a big trailer guy.
I don't watch trailers. That's like again. I famously only watched one trailer for Infinity War, and I was so excited for Infinity War. But I was like, I know I want to see it. I don't want to see anything. I just want to go in fresh. But no, I've been watching the trailers.
Yeah, so I mean, I love the trailer. The trailer had me super excited. There was a little bit of old footage in there, but it was mostly new stuff that we didn't see before. Black suit Superman, we got some of that action. We didn't get that last time. There was that screenshot that I had posted on the fan page of Batman's tank, which is from the Dark Knight Returns comics, if you're familiar with those, or the animated movies, which was another thing we did not see in in the original the Justice League, as we're going to start referring to, because Josh Whedon pretty much butchered the hell out of that thing or did something with it. I don't know. But the point of a trailer is to get you more excited for whatever it is than you previously were. So I'm gonna start with Jason on this one because I have a feeling he has some interesting take on this. Did the trailer now? Did it do its job? Are you more excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League, which, by the way, is the actual name for it now? No more Snyder Cut. Don't call it that. And we'll get into it also why I think this is a proper thing to call the damn thing now. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Jason, are you more excited for this movie now?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So the yes is, I mean, come on, black suit Superman with lasers coming out of his eyes. Who's not going to love that? Of course, here's the thing that it had me at that. I would have watched that movie just for that if we weren't doing this show. I think, of course, their trailers are always cool, right? Yep. I think we talked about this with Justice League. Justice League, the best part of not Justice League, I'm sorry. Suicide Squad. The best part of that movie was the trailer. So, of course, it's a good trailer. So that was my up. And then my down, because I did think about it. I did watch it more than once. I watched it a couple of times. Mm-hmm. My down was, there's a lot of, future stuff, which, Batman in the future, which was a lot of stuff that I found bloated in Batman versus Superman. And I went, so I don't know, is this movie going to be bloated? But then it went back up because I realized this is not a movie. This is a mini series. It's very different. We would never, there is under no circumstances in this world, the way the film industry works, that we would get what we are getting in the theater. It's too long. There's too much going on. And then it made me go, you know what? Maybe I am kind of excited about this, and whatever it is, it's going to be. But my problem with Batman versus Superman was that it was trying to do too much in too small of a span. But if I'm approaching this as a mini series, then that expands what you can do. Then I think it makes sense to have all of these different sort of through lines and stories. And I became kind of less concerned about, is this going to be a lot of these future revelations, which I thought bogged down Batman versus Superman. So after sitting with it and watching it a couple times, I had this roller coaster ride, but ultimately I am more excited than I was to see it. So the trailer was completely effective. And as always, I'm going in, I'm going to give it 100%, fair shot when I watch it. I just really hope it's as good as everyone says it's going to be, and I really hope it's as good as it is. The trailer is going to make it look. That's like my whole thing. And you, Eddie, you know this about me. Once I get burned by something in a movie, I'm always like, I don't know. I don't know. I gotta see it. And I think that's where I am right now. I out of the three of us, I did really not love or even like so much Batman versus Superman outside of moments. And so that's kind of my reaction. But I am, look, fingers crossed that this is leaps and bounds better than what we got. And I'm really pulling for it. And after the trailer, I'm pulling for it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, and that's all fair. But I think the idea that I know that we were talking about it previously, and it was a story was out there that they were going to release it in 4 1-hour parts, but they are releasing it in 1 4-hour film, Irishman style, for those who have seen that on Netflix. Which, I mean, I watched, I really like Irishman, I do, but it's a 4-hour movie. It's the rewatch factor,
right?
Just because of time. I think it's still going to be a movie, even whether you love it or not. It's going to be something you're not going to like pop in it constantly out of nowhere. You're going to have to like set aside some time, maybe watch it in sections, or however you're going to approach it. And I saw, because I know they are saying they're going to be releasing it in IMAX in some places where they can.
Really?
With a 10-minute, it's rumored that there's a 10-minute intermission.
Has to be.
Yeah, which I've only gotten, I think, twice. It was Tarantino's Grindhouse. And
the Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. Yeah, I saw that in the Village, and they had a little intermission, which was before our time. Like we didn't see that kind of stuff, but Quentin was doing that for a throwback thing, because he loves throwing back to that era, which I thought was really cool. I mean, I'm not going to see Zack Snyder's Justice League in theaters. I'm going to be watching it on HBO Max on my couch, because theaters are not open anyway. But either way, it's a 4-hour movie. We do not
all have the opportunity to see that on an IMAX screen. I'm going to figure that shit out, because I think I'm going to have to see this in IMAX.
I'm going to tell you right now, if something happens and I absolutely fall head over heels with this movie and I love it, yeah, I might be driving to New Jersey or Connecticut to go see it in IMAX.
I was going to say, you drove to Connecticut, bro, to see Tenet, so I don't want to hear that shit. You're going to, if you want to see this, you're going to go fight.
I like Tenet.
Yeah, as you should, but you drove to Connecticut to see that movie. So if you're going to do that, for that, you would definitely figure out a way to do that for this movie.
No, you're right. And I made it a double feature. I also saw New Mutants that afternoon, which I had to see because we were making the trip. And whenever that time comes and we decide to dive into the Fox era X-Men movies or whatever, listen, New Mutants was solid. I didn't hate it.
I haven't seen it yet.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's not nothing to write home about, but it's fine.
As soon as you make me wait 5 years to see a movie, I've lost interest at that point. So
Tony, you also know from we worked together that when I saw the trailer for New Mutants, I was like all about it. I was like, this is
you were. You were loving it. You were loving it.
It was a horror take on a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this is new. Sign me the hell up. Tony, what did you I think we already know the answer to this, but I'm going to still ask it. How did the 47 times watching the trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League, did it do the job for you? Are you actually more excited after watching the trailer?
It's funny because I didn't think that I could be more excited for this movie until the trailer came out. Now I am officially more excited for this movie than I was before. Okay. When I saw Darkseid in the teaser, I was like, oh my God, and now seeing him with Steppenwolf behind him, it's just like, it was just that we are going to get the movie we wanted. We are finally going to see the things that we wanted to see in the original mess that we ended up getting, right? And look, you could say whatever you want about the original Justice League. Ed, you and I saw it on premiere the night before it came out. It was a Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so like we got to see it before opening night, and we walked out of there and we were content. Yeah. We were almost happy. Like, wow, they didn't fuck this up. Well, we learned later on as the little stories came out here and there about, we were supposed to get this, and we were supposed to see Darkseid, and we were supposed to get this, and we were supposed to get that, and then we were looking at each other because, of course, our desks were just like this, which is like the work. By the way, if you work in a place and you have two guys who are comic book fans, do not sit them face to face because they will spend 90% of the day talking about comic books.
But if you're the facilities manager and you're the one who dictates where people sit,
which worked out very well for us because he just said, you know what, I'm going to just turn my seat this way and look at this guy all day long. And we can, instead of me having to turn around, we can just talk this way.
Yeah, I was going to get neck cramps and turn around and yelling shit all the time.
Yes, it was. So, but I mean, look, Zack Snyder he has come out and said there is not 1 minute of footage in this movie that I have not shot. Okay. This is my movie. We got a taste of what Warner Brothers did with Batman vs Superman, with Suicide Squad, how they screwed that whole thing up, how they took Justice League and used essentially the death of his daughter as an excuse to fire him, and then bring in Joss Whedon, who they thought was just going to wave a magic wand and was going to create the Avengers of Justice League, reshooting 70 or 80% of the shots that were in the film. It didn't work. So to see what Zack Snyder has been able to put into his own movie now, use his own principal photography, and then we got the little window into the scene where Batman and Joker are on the screen together. Batfleck and I can't even say Jared.
He's just a Joker, whatever, man.
But, oh my God!
Yeah, right?
Maybe. But when I heard that voice speaking, I go, "Son of a bitch! That's who it is. That's who it's going to be." And to see him with that SWAT vest on and turn around, I was like, "Oh!" So yes, I am extremely excited for this movie. And look, this is the thing, Jay, and I understand the whole roller coaster. I was almost, as you were going through your roller coaster story, I was saying, okay, so. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I was on the fence at that point. I saw it all the time. But the thing for me, I think, is that this is a 4-hour film. In a 2-minute and 17-second trailer, we got that much of what's actually filmed. And that nightmare sequence may be 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 15 minutes, could be 5 minutes. Right?
You're right.
It could be Absolutely. That. It could be that small. But that's the shit he chose to put in the trailer to say, look, this is stuff you've never seen before. And it's also telling the fans like you and I that wanted more, that wanted the context behind that nightmare sequence, that you're going to get the full story of what happened. Yeah. So to me, we haven't seen even a little bit of what he's got in store for us in this film. And I think there's going to be plenty of jaw-dropping moments. He's given us little tidbits here and there. We know about Martian Manhunter and this and that, or whatever. We know that those things are going to come, how they're going to happen, what they're going to look like, and what's going to happen there on after. I think it's just going to be a hell of a ride. I cannot wait to see this movie.
Yeah, no, me neither. I mean, and I know there's a lot of things out there, but I think that it's just, and we were talking about this pre-show, and I kind of wanted to really get to this, and it was around the trailer drop of this on Sunday. There are fans out there who are decided at some point they were either Team DC or Team Marvel, right? And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. That's what you do when you're choosing your hockey team. I'm a New York Rangers fan, right? Tony's a diehard New York Islanders fan. Our teams despise each other. The fan bases despise each other. But, if me and him had to discuss hockey and stuff like that, we absolutely could. It's fine. But that's where a situation where you don't like both. You do not say, I am a Rangers fan and an Islanders fan. You can't say I'm a Yankees fan and a Red Sox fan. Like in sports, you need to choose those things. And somehow that became attached to like comic book fandom. It's either you were either Marvel or you're DC. And I can gladly speak to the three of us at least. We'll sway one more way if we have to. It's like gun to your head, you have to choose. But we don't have to choose. There's nothing there. You can like both. There are some fans who the second they see DC, oh, it sucks, it's awful, blah 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 blah. Like, and there's the other way. There are DC fans who, when Marvel, they see that Marvel Studios opening that we gloss over and we like turn the putty over, like they're probably like, oh, this is like, God, get me out of here with this goofy laughing, stuff like that. So I think the best approach and what we're trying to share on the show and this page is like, guys, it's comic books. Take it easy, like it, enjoy it. Judge each movie or each show on its own merits. If it's a good film, like it. If you don't think it's good, fine. You can not like it either. I mean, Tony likes Venom, right? Like the film. I despise it, but it's okay though. But Tony, what did I say leading up to it? I rolled my eyes. I thought it was going to be the worst thing in history. Opening night, I was there.
You were there
because I said I'm going to judge it on its own merit, right? I hated the Joker trailer. The trailers for Joker.
Bro, you shit on that movie. Oh, you shit on that movie for about 2 years, bro. You were like, who's directing this movie? I can't. No, they're gonna fuck it all up. I can't. No way. And meanwhile, I got the text that night, bro. Oh my God, that was crazy. Yes. I was completely wrong.
Jason, did we? No, we didn't see this. We didn't see Joker together, right?
No. This is one of the few ones I saw with my wife, where she every now and then she humors me and she does this thing which like, okay, this is gonna be good, and she fluffs up like her coat like a pillow and she goes to go to sleep. But this movie actually, like by the end of this movie, she was like, wow, like so, and I think. You and I were on I was on your side with like, why are we doing a Joker movie? Do we really need this? What do we're kind of, I had my own issues, but when I saw that movie, I immediately wanted to see it again.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I was all about it. I think I had texted Jason too. I'm like, after seeing Joker then, because I kind of remember, I think I texted anyone about it because I was just so blown away. My expectations were in the toilet.
I was still in the movie. I was still in the movie when I got your text. I was like, I can't read this now. Can't do it. I'm in the middle of this. I can't watch it because I was dying for it because you were like, they're giving him an identity. We're gonna find out who he is. We're not supposed to know who he is. Nobody knows who he is. And what happened? And you were like, wow, this is just it was great. Because
they made a great film. That's why it's just movie. What it is. You can't do that. Yeah, so whatever. Yeah. The bottom line is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, these movies can be great, and sometimes these movies can suck. But the point is, you can't just go, well, it's DC, so it's great, or it's DC, so it sucks. Like you cheat if you like comic books. I kind of feel you're cheating yourself of just going, no, all of this property is garbage, and I'm only going to look at this because there's great stuff on both ends.
There's absolutely, and look, this is my take on this. Honestly, is that if you can't sit in front of a movie like this, and these movies are meant to entertain, they're meant to tell stories. Exactly. They're meant to tell stories about people who are above who you and I are, who you aspire to be something great, to be a type of a hero, even in a little part of your life or whatever the case may be. And you watch these movies to be entertained. And if you can't look at a movie like this and watch it and just at face value say, that was great, or that was complete shit. If you can't do that, then you're missing the whole point of why these movies are great. Is that they're stories. They're stories we told, and it doesn't have to come right from the comics. It doesn't have to be exactly the way that it was. You take a good story, or you take a good basis of a story, and you make a good movie, and people are going to love it. And and the Joker is the perfect example of that. The Suicide Squad is the exact opposite of that. And we went over that. And we went ad nauseum over that over and over again last week. So, but honestly, I mean, if there's none of this, look, DC and Marvel are not fighting for a Stanley Cup or a Lombardi Trophy, for an NBA championship, or for a World Series. Okay, if you want to pick a side, find yourself a sport, find yourself a team, and then hate the other team that you play against. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. When it comes to comics, when it comes to movies, it's subjective. Enjoy it, watch it, enjoy it, or hate it. One or the other, but do it because either the product is great or if it isn't great. That's what it should be in my opinion, that's what it should be about.
Yeah, and another example was I was clicking around the other day, and it lasted about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 minutes. FX was running Amazing Spider-Man. Now, you guys know how much I love Spider-Man. And that movie, wow, did that movie suck. It is to no end. Oh, man, I don't even want to get into it because I'm in a good mood tonight. I don't want to dive into that.
I can't wait to do the rewind on that one, to be honest with you, because That is just Jason. That's going to be such a show. I may not say a word the
Jason's
whole show.
heard it.
Jason has heard it. I've heard it. I've heard
Yeah.
plenty. I've heard plenty. But you know what? Bro? That's fine because I think Jason and I might just sit here. I ain't going to turn my microphone on. I'm just going to let you talk for a whole 2 hours about everything that you hate about that movie, and I'm just going to be like.
But the key takeaway though, before we move on, is that it's a character that I love. I've loved since I was a kid. I love to this day. And I would love nothing more than to watch a movie about Spider-Man that is good. And I have seen that
over your shoulder.
Yes, exactly. There's a bunch of Spider-Man crap all over this room. Okay? But the key is this. So I judge the movies on their own merit, though. I went to the theater to see Amazing Spider-Man. I gave it a chance, and it did not work for me. And then I did not go to the theater to see the second one, but I still watched it and gave it a chance because I was like, maybe it's better. And it got a lot worse. But the point is I gave it a chance. And that was it. So I just tell you guys, just give it a chance. The facts are, though, listen, the Justice League was 2 hours. Zack Snyder's Justice League is 4 hours. So that's a lot more content. So you can't say this is the same movie, which is why I don't want to call it. I don't want to call it the Snyder Cut anymore because it's not just a director's cut that adds in a couple of scenes here and there, and that's it. It's basically a new movie. Yeah, so I think you guys should just try to go in with fresh eyes and just give it a shot. But whatever, we're dying to talk about that when it gets out here, but we've got some time to go. So we're gonna move on to the CW verse. We're gonna talk about Jason's all-time favorite show on the history of television, Batwoman. Season 2, episode 4. Jason and I are going to take this part off because Tony's going to sit back and enjoy this part because he's not getting a chance to get around to this quickly. But
I would like to apologize to the users as to the listeners as I did to these two gentlemen. It is not my intention to just say to hell with the CW verse. It's not the case. It is just it's been a little hectic, although outside of the WandaVision and this and that. So I'm trying to adjust into, and I'm usually not a TV show person, but I'm getting into this whole thing. I'm trying my best here, and I'm a little behind. So I apologize. But these guys are going to definitely walk you through it like aces.
And Tony's he's gonna listen just like everyone else. So Jason, that's fine. Jason, what did you think of this week's Batwoman? I'm
going to say something that you did not think you would hear me say on this show, but I really not only enjoyed like 90% of this episode of Batwoman, but I thought it was good. Like
I agree.
I watched it and I went because last week I liked it because it was like last time we watched it, it's like, oh, Zaz pulled a grenade launcher. That was awesome. Just lean into the crazy. But this wasn't that. Like I'm gonna before I talk about what I liked about it, if anyone from the CW is listening, let this Kate Kane stuff go. Get rid of her ex, get rid of her sister.
Holding it back, man.
That's holding it back. But like the stuff with the new and I don't remember anyone's names, I'm sorry, but the stuff with the new Batwoman, and that's the interaction with their past, and that whole symbolism of the jar of jelly beans, and these are how many days you have for me to break you, and like it sent some of that stuff sent chills down my spine. And that new actress, I'm telling you, I think the best thing that could have happened to this show was the woman who played Kate Kane decided to bail, and they had to get this new woman because she is leaps and bounds better than anything I saw from what I saw of last season. So I actually, if you like this show, this is the episode to watch. It's a good episode.
Yeah, no, I liked it too, and I did. You also feel that like when they were alluding to, because we're gonna just talk about these shows like you guys have watched them. We're not going to walk you through step by step. So that's that. But when they were talking about like the woman that was going ahead, the candy lady, which is, I think that's kind of what they started calling her with the jelly beans and stuff. She was going around kidnapping kids. She kidnapped Ryan, it was Batwoman, Ryan Wilder, when she was younger. And we find that out. So they're starting to tie in a lot of her past into the present stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, when she was like coming at her, she walked up to her in front of the comic book store, which Ryan was a comic book reader as a kid, which I also get a kick out of too. And they were DC Comics, because I always will look at the rack and see what they have and what they don't have. Because they're always all DC Comics, because they can't do anything else with that. Yeah, legally. But like when she came out of the van offering candy, I mean my I started cringing a little bit. I'm like, oh man, they're really gonna go there with like, how dark is this really gonna get this episode?
Right.
It could have got really dark.
It could have, and even
really
like I'll tell you, like
dark.
when she has as a kid, it has that moment of no, I know better. I'm not going to do that. But what comics do you have like that? That seemed so genuine to me. That seemed like something that could happen, and I was kind of terrified. And I actually really liked the little girl actress they had. I thought she was great.
Yeah, she was
who
good. She was good.
The younger one. And when she gets in the van and they close the door behind her, it's like it was terrifying. Like there was good stuff here. They whoever directed this, whoever wrote it, give them a promotion.
Yeah, no, I thought they knocked it out of the park. I think a lot of the things I liked about the episode were the progression of Ryan and Mary's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They're roommates now, and then they're living above the holdup. And I think they're starting to grow there, which is cool. It's not just like every minute, oh, you're not Kate, you're not Kate, you're not Kate. Like they're starting to move past that, so that's kind of cool. The way that Ryan takes down the candy lady in the false face in current day, because she goes back to do that, I thought was interesting. And I actually thought the Sophie and Alice team up was fun. I thought that was actually really fun. I mean, I was kind of digging it because I think I like Alice as a character. Like she's and the actress who runs with it is totally just going crazy with this thing. And I kind of dug it where Sophie's the whole serious one, and then Alice is just getting on her nerves and pushing her buttons on purpose because she's so she's so like straight arrow on a lot of things. So I thought that was cool. Them tracking down this Ocean person, like again tying back to the Kate thing. Again, you got to let the Kate thing go, or just try to move past that, because I think the show could do something once they get past that, because it feels like they kind of really have to address that that main character that disappeared, which I kind of understand, but I just kind of want to see them move on. We know she's not coming back, so I wanted to see that closed and get going.
That's the thing. It's like it's one thing to address it, and I'm sure that the Kate Kane had a fan base, and I don't want to belittle that. People enjoy what they enjoy, but I mean, it's not like she can come back. She bailed on the show. She's never coming back. So I think it was them trying to deal with that aspect of the show changing by dangling that she's still alive and could come back. I just think that's a misstep. If they have to deal with it, they should figure out a way that is not so forced. Because I'm watching it going, okay, but she's never coming back. So why am I watching this?
Yeah. And I think it was I like the scene where Alice admits to Sophie, like, hey, the only reason I want to find Kate is because I want to kill her. And that's it. Like early in the episode, she played it up where she was like, oh, maybe she was being remorseful about maybe I shouldn't have did what I did to her that whole season 1 when they were fighting. But then she kind of like goes nuts and she's like, well, I just want to kill her. And that's it. And then Sophie's like, then it kind of was like, Sophie's like, all right, we're not teaming up. I'm going to go to Commander Kane and say, listen, we got to find her ASAP, because now we're racing against Alice, who wants to find her and kill her, and who wants to find Ocean or whatever, so killing him to get to her to kill her. So I thought that was fine. Did you also get the weird feeling that Commander Kane he kind of seemed like he was drunk? Like he was, they played him like he was drunk this episode.
He had like he had like the 5 o'clock shadow going on. He kind of had a disheveled look. I could see that. Maybe that's going to be a plot. Maybe the loss of his daughter, because it wasn't he indirect. I didn't get that far into the first season, but wasn't he indirectly at least responsible for what happened to her, or he tried to kill her?
Well, no. Well, yeah, he tried to. They kind of battled at different times when she was Batwoman, because he didn't know that was his daughter was Batwoman, and they went back and forth about that. And he tried to shoot her the last time he saw her. Okay. Like on site to take her down, which is why he has that kind of like guilt about that whole thing. That's the last thing he'll ever see of his daughter. So yeah, you're right. He could develop a drinking problem.
So maybe that's what they're going for, right?
I don't know, unless we're just throwing in that he's drinking because he had a 5 o'clock shadow and stuff. I mean, who the hell knows?
And looked disheveled, and he probably smelled like alcohol. I mean, I couldn't smell him, but he looked like he smelled like alcohol.
You could smell it through the screen.
I could smell it through the screen, exactly.
So the weird, and just before we move on, though, the weird thing I thought too is that he, like, Batwoman saves him towards the end of the episode, and then he acknowledges to Sophie, like, man, if Batwoman wasn't there, then I probably wouldn't be here right now. Batwoman saved him like 3 times in the first season. So there's that. Didn't quite understand that part, but let's hit quickly on the next CW verse show that was aired last night. So Black Lightning aired their second episode in season 4. I thought it was another strong episode. I thought they continued to set up the threats that we're going to have for the season. The Freeland police are getting armed with anti-meta weapons, and Tobias injects himself with a shot that makes him impervious to Black Lightning's powers. So I thought that was something. Now, since you guys haven't seen Black Lightning previously, they don't share a lot of screen time at all. I was talking to Angie about this. I actually think it was the 4 seasons, 3+ seasons now of Black Lightning. If you guys remember Inspector Gadget, when he was always chasing down Dr. Claw and barely just missed him, that's kind of like when Black Lightning chasing down Tobias. Like, he just doesn't quite ever get to him, and they've had like 1 face-to-face or maybe 2 very brief fights over the seasons.
So this episode was a big deal that they had another face-to-face.
Exactly. That scene in the it was in the school parking lot, and there was that huge thing of water, and it was a really cool scene because like he just Jefferson just sees Tobias. And there's that huge thing of water in the middle, by the way, which I thought was going to play a part in it. And as soon as Jefferson sees him, he just like chose to light him up, and it just bounces off him. And it's just like, screw this. I remember what you did. I know everything. Don't just reminding him. I know who you are, about your family and everything like that. And I'm going to take them down one by one by one, which also was very reminiscent of Kingpin in the Daredevil series when he was talking about how he was going to take them down. Jason, what did you think of this episode of Black Lightning?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I'm in on this show. I'm in on this ride. I'm really, again, I like, and I know I got to go back. And as I said, I think at the top of the episode, I tried to go back. I want to watch it, but I love watching this like guy having this crisis of morality with his powers, getting like a drinking problem and kind of, being erratic. Like he has that moment where he just goes outside of his house and starts using his powers for no reason. Like I love again I love the actor who plays Pierce. I love this character. I love how dark this character is going this season, and like that ending when he tracks down, so just to catch up, one of the teachers in his school, one of his sons are gunned down in a shootout between these 2 gangs, and it subsequently gets the rest of his kids taken from him. Black Lightning, Mr. Pierce, I forget his first name. Jefferson. Thank you. I should have remembered that. Jefferson Pierce is very empathetic, and he wants to help, and he realizes that after this war that happened last season, the guy lost his house. Him and his 3 or 4 kids and his wife been living in this car, and he wants to help him. And the guy's like, well, what can you do? And he realizes he's powerless. And that powerlessness makes him track down the kid. And it is a kid who shot this other kid. What's this kid, 18, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And he breaks into his house, and he gives the whole like, well, you go to the police and you do this speech. But then he goes real dark, and he like throws him to the floor, and he grabs his leg, and he goes, but you're going on crutches. And he hits him. And man, that was such a powerful scene, because it's not something you usually see in these CW shows. No. They don't usually let their heroes go this sort of dark when it comes to like, into the dark side of their persona and everything. And the fact that his warning was breaking this kid's leg like nothing, I was like, wow, if I was not in on this ride last week, I am 100% in on this ride this week.
Yeah, he went like full on vigilante, and it's like, he just breaks his leg just because essentially he can. And like you could see, like the first 2 episodes, Jefferson is beyond frustrated. Like you said, he's drinking. That scene where he falls out, he wakes up in the middle of the night, can't sleep. He goes to his backyard and just like screams and lets out his power because he can, but then he passes out. Because they keep, as Gamby told him in the last episode, like, dude, Jefferson can't use his powers without that suit. The suit kind of helps him not hurt himself while using his powers. That's the whole point of his suits. That's where he's different from his daughters, that he needs his suit for that specifically to help, like, kind of like, rein it in. But man, he just like lets out. And I think that's their setting up the fact that that's his anger his frustration and honestly his own health eventually is going to lead to him going back into the suit and being Black Lightning, and also the fact that the shootout that you mentioned, his daughter, she goes by Lightning on the episode. In the series, she's the most powerful one actually out of all three of them. She breaks up that thing, but she also gets stabbed in that. But she flies up to like the atmosphere and draws the energy, and she can heal herself, which Black Lightning himself cannot do. So I think that's where they're setting up the tones for where that's what's gonna have. He's gonna have to come out of retirement again and save them. I thought it was actually a pretty funny scene also where Anissa, one of his daughter, who's Thunder, she was like the coworker was flirting with her and stuff like that. You could tell. Yeah, he was kind of like drop game, and then she's like, "Listen, I'm sorry, but she's like, I'm gay. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But it's cool though because like game is recognizing game. Like I've been there. I've done what you've done, and I get it. It's cool, but we can go hang out and it's all fine. So I don't know. I got a kick out of that scene. Personally,
I really enjoyed that scene because it subverted the expectation, right? Like I didn't know that character was gay because again, this is my second episode, and if it was said in the last one, I missed it. But they were obviously flirting, and usually in shows like this, a romance, but it's just like no, but we could still be friends. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm kind of looking for friends, and I kind of like the subversion of expectation in a man-woman relationship for it to be no, it doesn't have to be romantic. We can be friends, and then they proceed to do so. So I really like that. It was not what I expected.
Yeah, and it took them closer to the shootout that happened, and when they were hanging out, they're having a couple of drinks. And she jumps up like, "Oh, there's a shootout! I got like my alert thing." She's thinking, "I'm gonna go there and suit up and go kick ass." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go with you. I'm a doctor. We need to go like help people." And then she's like, "Oh, well, all right, we can't suit up. We're just gonna have to be doctors now and try to help out whoever's there with that shootout." So there's a lot of cool things that are being set up on that show, and I'm enjoying it. And yeah, you're right. The most powerful scene of the episode was that ending with Jefferson. And also another thing that I don't know if you had gotten confused on if you didn't see previously. So Anissa, his daughter, who is Thunder, also has another alias of Blackbird. And she did a lot of things in the war that they keep referring to last season, but she had like a darker persona. And she kind of like tells those gangs to chill out, like there's no more violence, and gets them to like agree to a treaty. She is badass. Like they're legitimately scared of her in that whole thing.
I didn't realize that she was being a different person. I thought that they were just scared of her because they knew that she was super powerful. And I recognized who it was from her voice.
Yeah.
So thank you for that clarification. But wow, what a cool scene that was when she's just like, "Oh, I'll kill you both." And they're like, "All right, well, we're not afraid, but we're gonna acquiesce because it works for us." And it's like, "Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will." Exactly. That was such a cool scene. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, she would just totally just kick the shit out of Lala. And there's a whole nother backstory to who the other character is. She's still a new character, but she took over like the other gang in town for the time being. It appears. Again, I learned that along with this episode with everyone else. All right, so let's shift gears once more. Let's head over to WandaVision. Yeah, we're sorry about that opening credits thing, but fine, just deal with it. So speaking of opening, yes, now he's back. All right, so let's do our deep dive into this episode. All right, so speaking of openings, that opening for WandaVision for the the sitcom within the show. I mean, I had to look it up. I didn't get the references. I didn't watch Malcolm in the Middle, but apparently it was a total throwback to Malcolm in the Middle.
Completely.
Yeah. So, did you watch Malcolm in the Middle? Did either one of you guys? Or
no,
okay.
I no.
You did. Okay.
I did not watch Malcolm in the Middle, but I wasn't a regular watcher. I had seen it before. I had seen the opening credits, and as soon as it started, I go, "Oh, I know exactly where this was going." And it was. I mean, it couldn't have been more Malcolm in the Middle if they tried.
So, Jason, did you catch the reference right away since you did watch Malcolm in the Middle?
Actually, I didn't. I had to look it up as well because I haven't seen Malcolm in the Middle since it was on, and that's a long time ago. But once, I can absolutely once I saw it, I could absolutely see the reference. but yeah, I want to say I thought it was super cool that they went off the beaten path to a show that not everyone remembers. Though I am a bit heartbroken they didn't go Full House. I understand why they didn't, but I thought their choice was super cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. I dug it just for what it was. So this was the Halloween episode. So and I know I shared a meme on the page with this. So all the Halloween costumes, by the way, all comics accurate suits for everybody. If you were unaware of these characters, that's literally what they were. And I do love the fact that they worked that in there. And if you, for those of you who did see the Marvel Netflix shows, they also found clever ways to drop in, like Luke Cage's comics accurate suit, Jessica Jones's comics accurate suit was referenced. They worked in Iron Fist, so Marvel continues to find ways to find a thing that makes sense for these things, which I think is really cool because you kind of give that, and it's almost also like this is why we don't have exactly comics accurate costumes for everybody, because sometimes it's going to look a little goofy. Yeah. And then Wanda explains that she's a Sokovian. Yeah, a Sokovian fortune teller. Which I thought was hilarious. Love that. And a Mexican wrestler, by the way.
Mexican wrestler.
But did Wanda has a thing.
I love his turn from it was the only thing in my closet to you have this thing. Like Paul, I cannot express how good Paul Bettany is in this show.
Yeah, he's so good, and both of them are, and their chemistry is like completely off the charts with this thing. But yeah, so they made that, and then she was like, she's like says something like, "Oh, me gusto," and he's like, "Oh, chili con carne." I'm like, "That's what you had, Vision? Really? That's all you had?" That was hilarious.
It was so good.
Oh man, but you can kind of see from that whole scene that was unfolding through the conversation that Vision is clearly not under Wanda's control, which follows up from the last episode. When he's like, you can't control me, and she's like, "Oh, I can't." So apparently Vision's kind of like doing his own thing to an extent, but he's kind of playing the role here. But then she catches herself there. She says, that's not where, when he says, "I'm going to go out on patrol," and she's like, "That's not what you were supposed to." And she kind of catches herself.
Yeah. Oh no, you didn't tell me you had something to do.
And even he says, What were you going to say? Like he even says it like, "What were you going to say?" And she's like, "Nothing." So it's right now it's a game between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's almost like a mini chess match going on right there. So Suedi says, she Full House would have been great. It's true. Maybe next episode. Maybe we're not fully clear of it. I would like to see it personally too. I think that'd be pretty damn cool. And we're getting shout outs by Alex here for the Halloween outfits. That were cool. Fantastic. I mean, listen, if Halloween is Halloween, you might see people dressed up as this.
Absolutely.
Who knows? I would definitely give one of those things.
You're going to get those lime green basketball shorts that Vision had on, that's for sure.
Fantastic. But then so Pietro, another thing we noticed in this episode, that Pietro seems to recall things a little bit differently than Wanda has. And they kind of go back to that a couple of times throughout the episode, leading to tell you that this is not just the other MCU Pietro looking a little bit differently. I mean, did you guys get that also? I mean, are we all on the same board, or one of you guys think that this is still Pietro in disguise?
No, I'm convinced it's definitely not him.
No, I think the two scenarios I have in my head is this is another universe's multiverse's Pietro, right? Mm-hmm. Or if the only way it could be this incarnation, this MCU's incarnation of Pietro, which I don't really think it is if she rewrote him in the image she wanted, because they do have a line where she asks him, "How come you don't look the same?" And he went, "I don't know. If I found Shangri-La, I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either." Sort of hinting at she's the reason he doesn't look the same. So I think they're leaving themselves open to go either way, but I personally do think it is a multiverse Pietro. But I don't think it's the X-Men one.
Oh, okay. No, interesting. So you believe it still is a Pietro, but I think it might the Pietro we were thinking it was.
I think it might be. I think that that's kind of where I'm leading, because he remembers things differently. He's dead, but who's to say that there's not a multiverse that went very similarly to the way this one was with different changes, right? That's the point of the multiverse is you have all of these same characters that are different. So I think because we're heading into a multiverse, because this is supposed to be setting up Doctor Strange, and because I do think that the MCU might want to keep this version of Quicksilver around. I think it's possible that we're looking at a multiverse Pietro.
Okay. I mean, we'll get to where. I mean, I'm personally on the all in on the Mephisto bandwagon now.
I've actually detracted. I've actually
really?
detracted from. Yeah, okay. I have.
Okay, so all right, so that's who you believe. You believe it is another Pietro from somewhere in the multiverse.
I think it could be, or it could be her bringing her, like it could be her Pietro that she's brought back, who is just there because she wanted him. The same reason Vision is there. You know, and I guess I'm not fully out of the Mephisto. I just think we only have 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
They haven't really. They've only sort of sprinkled things, and a big thing for me is I no longer think Agnes. And I think she is Agatha Harkness 100%, but I don't think she's involved in this. I think she's a victim like other people. And that's kind of what's making me turn about the Mephisto thing, because the whole thing was like, oh, well, if that's her husband that we've never seen, and we've all been just assuming she's in on it. But she, in my opinion, she very clearly, but at the end of that episode when Vision finds her, she is trying to leave. She is sitting at that street, stopped at the hex, and she tells Vision, Wanda doesn't let us think about it. Wanda doesn't let us want to or wants to come. But if she has powers of her own, like Vision does, she might have moments where she gets out of the control. And that's what I think she was doing there. I think she was trying to leave the hex. So that's why I'm having very complicated thoughts about Mephisto, because now I don't see his place in the story without her being the sort of gatekeeper for him.
All right, so I mean, Sue's dropping in too. I'm not fully convinced that she is 100% controlling this 100%. I agree. I don't think she's controlling this 100% at all. But I mean, if you're going to go with the Mephisto belief, right? So if you're going to follow that context, then the idea is that he has helped her to create this. Because we can jump ahead quickly then, since we're the toothpaste is already out of the tube. Then we discussed this part with it. Go ahead.
Let me just drop this thing about Pietro, which I am more than more convinced that this is Mephisto. I'm convinced of it at this point. And as we watch this show, anybody who's had any interaction with Wanda, you can see, like, it's just about. Most people that are in the show that they talk to her, and it's like, they try to include and this and that, anything. There's only been 2 people that have actually questioned her through the show, and that's Agnes, and now it's Pietro. And Pietro, it seems at points that he's trying to get information from her, almost like, hey, how did you do all this? Like, bro, you showed up on my fucking doorstep. Like, you have no idea how this happened. Like, you would think like he's got a decent idea of what's going on here. And the way he phrased it, like, hey, look, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm impressed. Like, it seems to me like he's trying to pump her for information. And if you noticed, and look, we've noticed so many different things, and we all know that if something is in a shot, it's meant to be there. If you notice during the intro, when they showed Agnes in the refrigerator, she had on a pair of sweatpants, and on the back of those sweatpants, it said naughty. Okay. Never is that is not a coincidence. Yep. That's number 1. Number 2, did you notice in the next scene when they're in the living room, the kids and Pietro and Wanda, they're having a conversation. Did you notice he had a tattoo on his arm? Yep. Right now, it kind of looks like it says "mom." Right? I don't think it says "mom." I think, and not that I think it has anything to do with the show. I just think it's a little drop. But I think it wasn't MOM. I think it was HOM, which would point to House of M. So I am fully believing that Pietro is not who he says he is.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not who he says he is. And we chatted about the whole thing. Did Funko spoil this or not spoil this? Because they
With
released
the
their picture of their box
Yeah,
that
that's
says,
true.
quote,
the
Pietro
quotey
Maximoff.
fingers.
Yeah,
But this is
exactly.
in my and I'll ask you guys this because this is what my theory is behind it.
Mhm.
What did he show up? He just happened to show up at the moment where Vision was starting to
Question and become aware.
question things and become aware, and the two of them were starting to focus on each other, and magically he shows up. Does he show up as a distraction for Wanda at that point? Because really that's what it is, because he has been distracting. All of this stuff has happened. Vision goes away, right? She has no idea where he is, what he's doing. She knows that he's not doing what he says he did because she ran into Herb, and Herb told her that he's not on duty tonight. So she knows. She doesn't even bat an eye. Like, wait a minute, if he's not doing what he said he did, what is he doing? Not even close, because she's so focused on Pietro. And really, if you're going to bring anybody back or bring anybody into this and to completely distract her from what is happening, that would be the person to do it. Especially in the condition that he's in, that he's not actually her brother, but she knows that he is her brother. So I think that he's been placed there by whoever is manipulating her, because as you could see through this whole thing, she doesn't even know where Vision is. She needs Wiccan to tell her where it is, where he is. So she is not fully in control. And just even the way she explains it to him. How did you do this? I don't really know how I did all this.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna touch on those things, but before we get back to that, there's also another thing that leads to the Mephisto theory right here, is that when he's there with the kids and they're going trick or treating, he literally yells out, "Unleash Hell Spawn, unleash Hell Demon, yeah, Demon Spawn," right? He yells that out at them. So if you're familiar with House of M, Mephisto has his essence in the children, into Wiccan and Speed before he snatches them back to send Wanda over the edge to the her whole no more mutants thing and everything else. So I thought there's no way that was a mistake.
No,
that he yelled those exact words to them and those two kids. So that's what kind of really started. That's why I'm really more hitched onto this wagon. And the other thing is that scene at the end that we had referenced with the conversation between them is that how did she do the hex and how has she done all this? Is that she also was hiding? She was. I'm sorry. Hiding. He asked her, "Why are you hiding all these kids this entire time?" Like in the last episode, Vision.
Where have all these kids been?
Yeah, where have you been hiding them? Because Vision asked her at the last episode, "Where are all the children? Why are there always empty playgrounds? Now suddenly there's children because it's Halloween." There can't be a coincidence there. And then she also doesn't know how she did it. And also once she starts talking about her reality again and not knowing how to do things, boom. Then he looks all shot up and he looks dead and everything like that again, making her so she's creating that visual, I believe, of reality. And that's when things start getting wonky again. Every time she gets totally distracted and starts talking about reality, things start becoming undone. Every single time throughout this episode and previous episodes. So that's really why I'm really hitched on to, listen, this guy's Mephisto. He's screwing with her. He even says why he's there. He's there because, I'm exactly what you wanted. You wanted me to mess around, upset the husband, cause chaos and do all this other stuff like this. He's basically laying it out for her. But I think he gave her these abilities, and Agnes gave her these abilities to create this whole thing, but she doesn't quite know the whole deal that she made with the devil. That's where I'm at with this thing.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, that's why I'm so in.
I definitely agree, Tony, that the question you asked before, regardless of this is Mephisto or if this is a different, alternate universe Pietro, whoever it is, it was 100% sent there as a distraction to Wanda.
Yeah.
And I think that is evidence, like, no matter what's going on, I think the things that I am completely on board for is there's something. This isn't just her. There's something above her. I'm just sort of starting to question if it's Mephisto who's doing it or if it's something else. But this is not all her completely, and I think we all agree on that. And I think whatever that other thing is, I'm not going to name any names. I'll just sort of put this here. I think whatever that thing is. I've been waiting the whole segment to get this in, guys. I think there's definitely like who comes in and what happens. Like Pietro's definitely manipulation. There's a lot of manipulation of Wanda going on, as well as her manipulation of things around her. So I definitely think that whatever it is going to be an excellent payoff.
And by the way, that whole thing, Jason, I'm not doing this just to mess with you, okay? But I'm just going to tell you that whole story where Wanda keeps testing Pietro and seems really confused about who he actually is, and she mentions the kid with the skin problem from Sokovia that was like teasing Pietro. There's a lot of people who seem to think that this person is Victor Von Doom.
What? No.
I understand. I think this is not the insane. No, but there is a belief out there, and again, this is not mine. I'm just passing it on. What I've referred to, because the belief is that there's going to a power vacuum was created after the events of Age of Ultron, and then Victor Von Doom is going to essentially create, form from that, and people are going to turn to him, and he's going to seize that power from that power vacuum that's there, and he's going to rise to power in Sokovia. That's what some people are throwing out there, and maybe
interesting.
Maybe he renames it.
Latveria. I mean, why not? Maybe. You could. Hey. Look, I don't care how they get Dr. Doom in. I don't care if Dr. Doom was Reed Richards' dentist and he goes crazy and he becomes Dr. Doom. I don't care. Just give me Doom.
I love it. You're like J. Jonah Jameson asking for pictures of Spider-Man.
That's right. Excellent. I love it.
So can we talk about, by the way, can we talk about that scene when Monica...
Should I hold Vision next, or should I hold him?
Can we talk about the scene with Monica, and we got to see Jimmy Woo kicking ass, by the way?
Oh, it was
what did I text you? When these two guys watched the episode before I did. I got a little bit of a late start. It wasn't until like early evening where I got to sit down and watch it. And I said, I'm starting the episode now. Expect commentary. And the first thing that I text these guys was Jimmy fucking Woo. My God. Yes, that was awesome.
# we are Jimmy Woo. It was Jimmy Woo. Oh man, he's so. And we also found out, by the way, that he's an expert at hot wiring cars, which was like a throwaway line that was thrown in there just to make him even more awesome.
I just love what they do with this character. Like this guy who should have been a throwaway nothing character from Ant-Man 2, right? I love that they've created such a robust character with this guy in the show. Like I want an X-Files with him, Monica, and what's it, Darcy? I want an X-Files with those three.
They could have their own movie at this point. I mean, these
what I'm saying.
These three are great together. I love it.
It's so good. And there was also another reference, by the way. It may or may not have went over your head, the Kick-Ass reference.
Oh, yeah. You said at least 2 or 3 times.
Okay, so there's the quick scene where Pietro's taking the kids, and he's like, something like, no, we're going to go kick ass. And then they run off, and then Wanda's like, oh, kick ass. So the Easter egg that's there is that both actors that played Pietro in the MCU and in the Foxverse,
right.
Aaron Taylor Johnson were both in Kick-Ass together.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
I think that's another phenomenal reference. I was laughing, man. It was pretty great.
Smart writing.
It really is. So to touch on the thing that Tony had brought up before. So when Herb asks Wanda if there's anything he can do for her, do you want
anything for you? Do you want something changed?
Do you want something changed? So I think he's in on this with Mephisto, with Agatha Harkness. I think they're the people who are helping, to work behind the scenes to kind of puppeteer Wanda into doing this whole thing. Because the belief is, again, if you're on with the Mephisto thing, you're believing that he went ahead and gave her all of this or helped her out with all this to create, Tommy and Billy for him. So that's essentially what she did. And that's where he's trying. The idea is that he would take them back at some point. So he's giving her, okay, fine. You give me these 2 kids. I'm going to give you this whole fantasy land. I'm going to help you alter reality. We're going to do all this crap for you just to appease you. And when the time is right, they're mine. I don't know what character Herb might really be, but the fact that he keeps on, he's self-aware.
He knows, but we knew that from he knows because of the episode where Agnes and him were talking outside of Vision and Wanda's house, and he was about to say something, and Agnes turned to him and was like, no,
yep,
don't do it. Don't do it.
That's why I think they're together in this.
But he's definitely, and you see everybody else is under that spell, and Vision has to do that touch thing, which I'll get into later on because there's a scene with it later on that I think is very important going forward. But he has to do that in order to kind of snap them out of it.
Yeah.
Herb doesn't need that. Herb doesn't need to have that happen. Where he had to do that. What's the guy at work? What's his name again? The little short guy. What the hell's his name?
Not Phil. Was it?
Norm.
Yes.
Which could he look any less like a Norm than the guy who they actually took? So right, which I kind of think normal. I that's the only thing that I think what's a normal kind of a name? Norm. So Herb, everyone's got these short, cute names or whatever. So, but he has to, in order to get the information he needed to, to touch the side of his head. Herb doesn't need any of that. So Herb's in reality of what's going on here. He is on both sides of this whole thing. So I agree. I think Herb is definitely, if he's not a part of it, he's definitely hip to what's going on and he's not under the spell.
Yeah. And that creepy, by the way, that woman. So Vision finds that woman that's hanging up the spider web or whatever it was.
With the
How
tear.
creepy was that? Is she starts tearing that you could see she's completely under some mind control. That was
yeah.
eerie,
and I think this is obviously I think we all can agree that whoever is around where Wanda is, they're all a part of everything that's going on. And as you get further and further and further away from her, the control, it's almost as if everyone, and Jimmy says it, they're looking on the computer screen and says, hey, are these people even alive? Like they're not even like, they're hardly moving.
Yeah.
And it's because it seems like the further they get away from her, the less control, so it's almost like they're frozen in place. So it's they're dropping more and more and more about what actually is going on. But as you get farther and farther away from the middle of town or from wherever Wanda is, there's nobody else is doing anything. And that goes back to what she said at the end of last week's show. Do you think I have people mowing their lawn?
Right.
No, only in the 3-block radius of where you are. And as it goes further and further away, those people are just stuck. They can't do anything. So
yeah.
That was another big thing, and that's part of it because they were away from where Wanda is, so she's just like a mannequin, like like one of those animatronic figures trying to do this. She's not actually doing anything, but I guess she's conscious enough to know, I need to get out of this thing. I'm being held captive or whatever, and Vision sees it, and that's important that he sees that.
Yeah, another two big reveals that they also have. So Wiccan and Speed, who are Tommy and Billy, for those who are not aware, who are also in their comics accurate costumes for their Halloween costumes, which I thought was great.
Awesome.
As is Pietro, even with the hair, which I love.
As Pietro, as Vision.
Yeah, it was great.
The whole family is.
Bro, when I originally saw it, I thought immediately of Logan with the hair, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, they really recreated his hair from the comics. It was genius. Loved it.
But by the end, though, Speed has his speed, and they acknowledge that he has it, and Wiccan has his powers by the end of the episode. So they're fully functional. If you want to call them, since there's not, they're mutants, essentially.
But also, it seems as if that Pietro is the one they were with Pietro, and Pietro brought them all around with the super speed and everything. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they started realizing their own powers. So was that part of it also? Was Pietro there to try to, start realizing what you can do, and you could do this, and you have, and look, as they're walking through that town square, if you looked at the movie theater, the two movies that were showing, The Incredibles, which is what? A family with superpowers.
Yep.
Right? And The Parent Trap, which is a pair of twins that are trying to trick their parents into staying together, which you saw early on. They said
not
that
mistakes.
Vision and Wanda are not seeing eye to eye at this point. So just, again, these little subtle things here and there, beautifully done.
Yeah. And no, those were tremendous Easter eggs that are thrown into there. Also, I'm sure they're Disney properties, so they kind of just got to make sure that that's
Of
all
course.
nicely tied in together. But
Lindsay Lohan is now a thing again now.
yeah. So a big thing, by the way, is that Sword. We find out that Sword is tracking Vision in this episode. Not Wanda. Yeah, not
Vision.
Wanda.
Yeah.
Only Vision.
And that ties into another thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. The way I read that was because they must have had something on the body. That is Vision's body, right? He broke it out of Sword and brought it. So I think they've kind of just activated whatever they put into him. And I think that's going to be interesting when Wanda finds out that they've done something to Vision's body.
And also, Darcy finds out Operation Cataracts.
Right. Which
Vision, Cataracts, the distortion or turning of vision.
Clouding of vision.
Clouding of vision, distortion, whatever they were doing to Vision, they obviously want Vision. They want him back because they were doing something with him. They just weren't holding on to him just for a sentimental value.
But what did Darcy say also when she saw him on the screen? What did she say? The decaying of vibranium cells. Yep. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? That Vision is weakening.
Yeah.
And is that by their design? You know, look, they were perfectly well. I'll get to that. I won't go into that until we get to that point. I was just going to say, like when he gets to the outer part, but I want to go through the.
All right. No, we'll
go through the exit first, so we'll do that after.
Yeah, we'll hit that part too. But then, so Vision goes ahead and finds during his patrol, he's flying around and stuff. He finds Agnes, by the way, all the way out at Ellis Avenue, which, Wanda earlier in the episode tells the kids not to go to Ellis Avenue. Right. So, by the way, another quick thing before we get to that scene, though, Ellis Avenue could be a reference to President Ellis.
Matthew Ellis, yep.
Yeah, President Ellis, who's seen in Iron Man 3 and in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They do tie in nicely where he is the president in the MCU for, I don't know, I mean, his term must be over by now, so maybe that's why he has a street named after him. 5-year gap. Whatever. He's been the president for a long time.
She could have just named that street. She could have just named that street that also.
Yeah, totally possible. But he finds Agnes in the car. Agnes is there, stuck. She's not really moving much.
Dressed like a witch.
Dressed like a witch.
Dressed like a witch. But she is at the edge part of town. So if she would have gotten to that point, she would have been far. She would have been far enough away from Wanda to be in that frozen state.
But my question, I'm sorry, I know I jumped the gun on this. I got excited to talk about this part. I jumped the gun in the beginning of the episode. But my question is, why was she that far out? She lives right next to them.
I got a theory on that, my brother.
Hit us with it.
That's my theory on that is that she was exactly where she wanted to be. She knew exactly where she had to be because she knew Vision would be there. She needed to convince him that there was a problem, and she pushed him over the edge by saying, "You need to get help. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. You need to go and get help." And he said, "I'm going to get help. I'm going to fix this." Right? And what did that tell him? If he was unsure about going across Ellis Avenue and getting to the outside and walking through, she pushed him over the edge. Yep. That was done on purpose. And if you notice, after he talks to her, she just gets up and drives away. Why is she able to do that when everybody else on that side of town is frozen fucking solid? So she was there because she wanted to be there. She knew Vision was going there, and that she needed to put. He needed that push, and that's what she gave him. That was the reason
totally full of shit that she was under any. Yeah, she was totally acting the part. Oh, yeah, look, Vision took me out of it. He saved me. You're an Avenger.
Because she has not been under the spell. She has not been under the spell the whole time. Remember when Vision came outside and her were having that conversation, she knows what's going on.
True.
And remember, she's seen everything that Wanda can do. She has seen Vision in his normal form. So she's hip to this whole thing. So she's not in the same thing that everybody else is in.
And I think she's trying to get rid of Vision. She's trying to get rid of him because he's a distraction.
Of course she is, because now it's
because Vision's aware. Vision's aware of what's going on and could interfere with their plan.
She knows that if he walks through that wall, he's not going to survive. That it's going to pull him back, and that's exactly what was happening. So she was there to push him to go outside.
Exactly. That's the whole theory and why I believe that she's also in on this whole thing. She was there to try to eliminate Vision, to eliminate another roadblock for what her and Mephisto want to happen. So it's like he's aware now. She's not controlling him any longer. Time to get rid of him. He can't survive outside of the hex. So let's play on him. Get help and all this other stuff.
And you think that what happens eventually they didn't foresee?
I think
what happens at the end.
Oh, that she expands the hex? No, I don't think she's
okay. Because that's what's getting. There are two things that have gotten me sort of questioning things with the if. And again, I think she's Agatha Harkness. I'm just questioning if she's involved. And the two things were the twice in two different episodes that she had genuine fear, and then this one about what had happened. But that makes sense. That if you're saying that you think that she was there specifically to get rid of Vision, that makes a lot more sense. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I think she's trying to eliminate a potential threat to their plan. So let's get him out of here. I think she does fear Wanda though, because I think that it is clear that Wanda's powers are that she's like a nuclear bomb that they're playing with. That they know that they can't fully control it. So they're like, hey, let's make her happy. Let's get what we want out of her. We can play it off that Vision, was just on his own. Like, that we had nothing to do with this. And it was a way, like Tony said, to kind of like push him over the edge into what to like destroy himself essentially.
Right.
That makes sense.
But I think that they manipulated her. Right. I think they manipulated her. They let her know that they had Vision there, that they were doing, somehow, some way. That story's going to come out in the next 3 hours, which I'm glad to see that these episodes are going to be an hour each, because there's a lot that's got to be told in these next 3 episodes, and you need 3 hours in order to tell it. So I'm glad that they're going to be an hour each. But I will tell you that. Well, so I think that I think that they used Vision. I also think
Alex is agreeing with us 100%.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a good point. Excellent point.
I think that what's going on here is that they use Vision to get her to create this thing. They manipulated her, but I think what happened is, and I think this is what we're going to see going into the next episode, is that when she expands the hex, I think they're going to realize that she's realizing her power, that she has, she's realizing more and more of how much power she actually has, and that they're going to have to break this down at some point, and that they're going to have to, break this, get what they want from her, and stop this whole thing, because they realize that she's becoming too powerful. She is powerful. It's not like she's becoming more and more powerful. She's realizing more and more what she can do, and by her expanding, I don't think anybody, whether it's we obviously know, okay, that the director of Sword knows more than anybody else about this whole thing. So he knows what's going on here more than he's letting on. So I think that by doing what she does, I don't think anybody thought she was capable of doing that. And by her doing it, and by seeing what happened, and now taking half of Sword with her, no less, because it's only cool. It was unbelievable. She took the whole freaking base with her, which was amazing. Only Jimmy, Monica, Tyler, and like one other agent got out. Everybody else was taken. Is now the circus is in town, which is I thought was hilarious how they converted Sword into the circus. That was fucking awesome.
So do you think? By the way, do you think that they look like circus characters or anything? Because that's how Wanda sees them, like a bunch, like Sword is just like a circus, like a clown show.
Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely for her. Think about how powerful she is. I mean, she had those soldiers just. I mean, that shit was just awesome, and she didn't even flinch. She just thought it, it happened. So, compared to her power, yes, they are a clown show.
That's what I was thinking. That's why they appear like that.
That's why.
I agree 100%. But the last thing I want to say about all this is that we have every trailer and every piece of footage that we have seen in all of the trailers and the whatever all end at the Halloween episode. You have not seen a second of footage from these next 3 episodes, and there's a reason for that, because now shit's going to get real. Everything is going to start to reveal, I think, starting this week, because there is a lot that's going to have to be told, and we haven't seen not a thing about what happens after Halloween. So I'm going to be very, very, very interested to see where this ends up going. I think I think we all know where this is going to end up.
We think
this ride to get there is going to be awesome.
And that touches on Alex. So, Alex, hang in there with this, because the reason that they're going ahead, I know the episodes are there, but like this is what a slow burn is. This is how the show unfolds and leads to it. Now we're getting, like Tony mentioned, hour-long episodes for the last 3. And it also reminds me of what Marvel did with their trailers for Infinity War. They said leading up to the movie, they only used pieces from like the first, what was like the first 30 minutes or so.
20 or 30 minutes of the movie. That was it. You didn't see a stitch of. The only thing that they showed you afterwards was the moon scene on Titan. That was it. You saw nothing else from the second and third act of that movie. Everything was from Act 1, and we got. The trailers that we've gotten have all been, so think about it. If there's 3 hours left, we've got, this was episode 6. They've been between 30 and 41 minutes apiece at this point?
How about that?
Okay, so that's 1, 2. We've gotten only halfway at this point. Even though there's only 3 episodes left, we got basically Act 1 and Act 2. It was Act 1, it was introductory of what Wanda is doing. Act 2 is how S.W.O.R.D. is involved. Act 3 now is how the hell did we get here and where are we going after this? And we didn't see anything that's happened after this point, and that's all by design. This is textbook Marvel marketing. Is that we haven't seen not a minute or a second of footage from after this episode. So we're going into this blind.
So let's before we talk about, I wanted to talk about Monica Rambeau in this episode because there's a lot to unpack with her. But so Darcy is in the hex now.
Darcy too, definitely. A lot.
Okay, so she's in the hex now, right? So she's going to be a TV character of some sort.
I can't wait to see that.
Oh, do we think Do we think they're going there? Do we think she's going to be a waitress as she was on Two Broke Girls?
Bro, she has to be.
How awesome would that be?
Perfectly. It matches up perfectly. That show was on in the 2000s. That's where we're at. Perfect.
That's a great point. We are in the 2000s now. Yes, it has to be.
Yes,
that's an opportunity. I just don't know legally how much they're allowed to use it or not. But if they just make her a waitress.
No, wasn't that on ABC?
No, it was on CBS. But
was it CBS? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who the heck owns it though.
Disney has a magical ability called throwing cash at something. So if they want this badly, they could just go, Alakazam, here's money, and they have it. I mean, if anyone could make it happen, Disney can.
Right, or they could just put her in a waitress outfit. You don't think everyone's going to draw the conclusion? Right. Everyone's going to know exactly where they went with this. She can make a throwaway reference, anything, but I guarantee you that he is going to end up.
Well, by the way, though,
she's going to end up in a waitress outfit somehow.
Just make her a waitress. That's all I'm asking for. You don't have to have the exact outfit. Just make her a waitress, and that'll already be enough. Where we'll all get the reference, and it'll be hilarious. There was some scenes though that they did use in the marketing. And now that I was thinking about it, was the fact that there's going to be like a Modern Family episode, which ABC does own. So because there was something with Wanda talking to the camera. And she's doing that type of a thing. So there was a little bit that was beyond what we've seen before, unless it's a deleted scene, which I don't think they would have used that then. But there has been a little bit of footage. And Alex is saying there was 1 2-second scene in one of the trailers. In episode 8 and 9, it was Wanda in modern time next to gray filtered version. So I'm not sure if that's was just for the trailer or not or something. So there is some footage, though, before we'll back it up a little bit. That has been used, but not a lot, though. The point is they have not showed a lot of it. Most of it has been focused on the first 6 episodes.
Which is exactly what they did with Infinity War and Endgame. It's exactly the same thing.
So let's talk about Monica Rambeau for a second. So she references the aerospace engineer that she's got to meet up with, but she says, I got to meet up with my guy. So my Riri Williams theory just went right in the toilet.
I didn't think it was going to be Riri Williams. If they were introducing her as a kid in 2 years from now, they're not going to. I didn't think that they were going to do that. It was a good guess, but I didn't. But
she's been cast. Down that road. I was thinking because she's already been cast. She's been doing interviews recently, by the way, talking about being cast, and she's also considered one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe. So that's kind of where I was thinking that we might have just got an introduction. So now that they said him. And Riri Williams is squashed. We're back to the other thing. which it's either everyone's swinging for the fences or not, because now it's returned right back to Reed Richards or Victor Von Doom again. Do you guys subscribe to any of this, or are we swinging for Magneto fences again? I know Jason would like to see it, like it to be Victor Von Doom, but we will see.
I do.
Jason, go, brother. You do it.
No,
Go.
that's it. I want it to be Victor Von Doom. I think I want Magneto in the MCU more than anything else in the world, but this is not the way to bring him in. Like the Magneto needs a proper entrance. This is, however, a great way to bring in someone like someone like Victor Von Doom as sort of where now we know who he is as as comic book fans. He's not Doctor Doom yet, right? But it gives us that back door into the Fantastic Four movies. So I think out of those three, Reed Richards, Victor Von Doom, were swinging for Magneto. I think it's Doom is the smart choice. That's my theory. Just with setting up
the smart choice.
the smart superior, certainly not leading you to your Doom choice. Yes. But I think he would be the best choice. And also, of course, I want him in the MCU anyway. I can get him, as I said. So that's my theory.
Okay. Or do you think we're just going to get all let down? Tony, do you think we're all going to get let down and it's just going to be a guy and that's it and we're just going to move on?
No, they put too much. I think they put too much emphasis on the fact that they've dropped too many hints about it already. Aerospace engineer. Now it's, oh, my guy can get me back into the Hex. Like, I think that they put too much stock into this already. So I think it's going to be somebody of importance. Do I think that this is the big reveal? It definitely could be. Could it be just a regular Joe Schmo? Sure, but I highly doubt it. And if I had to guess at this point, I do know that Victor Von Doom is definitely going to end up in the MCU at some point. But with the Fantastic Four movie already been announced, I would not be surprised at all if this is Reed Richards and John Krasinski. I really wouldn't. Because if you see Krasinski, you know right away who it is. Because it's all about, like, you see him, you're like, all right, there they are, ready to go. But we already know a Fantastic Four movie's coming. They've already announced it. They're working on a script already. What better way to start to tease and to build, that whole thing with the Fantastic Four by introducing Reed Richards in the show and just a quick cameo. He's in, he's out. That's it. And then maybe you see him again in some other small cameo somewhere down the line. It just builds for that movie coming out. When Victor Von Doom shows up, people are going to go crazy anyway. But to see Krasinski, especially the fact that everybody knows, and could it not be Krasinski? Sure, but this has been what's talked about for the last year that Disney and Kevin Feige have been talking to him and Emily Blunt about taking over Fantastic Four. So if that's the case, it would be great. But it would be you want to talk about a slow burn? That would be a perfect slow burn to get to Fantastic Four.
It could be a guy named Reed Richards, and I don't care who the actor is, and I'll already be excited. But I want it to be John Krasinski. We all want it to be John Krasinski.
We all want
John Krasinski so bad. I want that guy to be Reed Richards so bad. I want Emily Blunt. I do. I want them both. So, and they're a package deal. I mean, they're married, for Christ's sake. So, I mean, I want these two taking the Fantastic Four over. I really want them to take it over. So, I'm hoping.
You think they get Chris Evans back as the Human Torch? I mean, his contract just ended, right?
He is making an appearance in a Marvel film, so who knows?
It's true. They didn't actually say who he's playing. We really want to get wild.
How hot would that be?
Can you imagine?
If he plays the Human Torch in the multiverse.
If he shows up in Spider-Man 3 as Johnny Storm, bro, I would I would probably piss my pants. I really would. I'd be like, they've completed. That's it. I don't even know I don't even know what to say now.
My head would explode.
So the last thing before we shift gears is Monica's blood work. By the way, that's not a throwaway thing. They mentioned Monica Rambeau's blood work and that her cells are being rewritten by her back and forth through the Hex. I think she's getting abilities. She's moving. We're seeing her origin story in a way of becoming a hero. Whether that happens in WandaVision or not, Mike, I'm starting to get a feeling. They've been mentioning Captain Marvel so much. Mm-hmm. It's been a couple of times now. It's mentioned in this episode again. Her cells are being rewritten. We're seeing that. I think she's going to have abilities before the series is over. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think
Agree,
she.
100%.
Yeah, I think she's definitely going to take that either Spectrum or. I mean, look, they made it. Maybe they don't take that. Maybe it is Photon because they showed you the name. They mention it in Captain Marvel. They mention it again in the early episode. So maybe it is Photon she ends up taking that name, which would make a lot of sense because they've emphasized it already.
Yeah.
But
the nods to her mother.
Right. And then, which would obviously be a huge thing. And then they also mentioned the Carol Danvers thing again, which is going to be interesting because I don't think they're talking about when she's a kid. So there's got to be something else that happened before the snap. So I think we're going to find out about that. I don't know if we're going to find out about it before Captain Marvel 2, but there's definitely a history there now, and they've mentioned it twice at this point. So there's more to that story. So yeah, I definitely think she's getting her powers.
All right. So we'll see what happens. We can't wait for episode 7 this week. That drops on Friday on Disney Plus. I'm hoping that whole thing about it being an hour is the case, because then we'll have so much more to unpack here, and we're watching essentially, like a movie plus over the last 3 episodes of this thing. Because I don't foresee a WandaVision season 2. I think this is a one-off. This is it, and that's it. So we'll be enjoying these last 3 episodes. So that takes us to our revisit of the DCU that we've been leading back to leading to the release of the Snyder Cut in Wonder Woman. Yes, there she goes. Jason frozen, or is he holding up Wonder Woman? I'm not.
I think it's a little of both.
Wait.
No, he's definitely frozen now.
No, he's frozen.
Wow.
Jason, leave the stream and come back then to get you back on. We'll work out the. Oh, there
he is.
I could hear you. I was actually just typing in the chat. I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
So you hold Wonder Woman up and all hell breaks loose.
Exactly. And I got to stop bringing the action figures here. I'm disrupting things.
So we tie in. We go back to revisiting Wonder Woman on our journey through the DCU. There's Tony and I have a tremendous story behind this thing that we actually got to see Wonder Woman at a screening that we went to. It was actually only like a day or two earlier before it released, and I saw it with Jason again that Thursday night. But Tony and I got these passes, and we went with some buddies from work and some of our wives, and we got to see Wonder Woman. We actually got to see Gal Gadot at the screening from a distance, and we got to see Chris Pine, and we got to see Patty Jenkins, and Tony. Who am I forgetting that was also at this thing? Oh,
here's the picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
So Robin Wright,
yep.
Chris Pine, Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, and I believe that's Danny Houston, who played Ludendorff.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember who else was missing from that, but it was a super exciting experience. We waited online for a couple hours to go see this thing, and we absolutely were blown away by it. And it's some people will say, oh, because of the event, that's really what it was hyped up for. Nah, dude, because I've seen the movie like 15 times by now, and it still holds up pretty damn well for me.
And actually, what they had said when it all went down, like, first of all, we knew something was up because the movie was supposed to start at 7, and it was like 7:15, 7:20. These things are notorious. If you've ever been to an early screening, they start at, if they're supposed to start at 7, by 7:01, it's going. There's no credits, no nothing. It just boom, you're right into the movie. And it was like 7:15, and nothing was going on. And Ed looks down the row and looks at me, and he's like, "Bro, something's up. There's no way that this is right. There's no way that they haven't started this yet. They're waiting for something." And then within the next couple of minutes, a guy comes up. He's like, "We're going to raffle off some posters. We're going to have some trivia." I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, is the projector broken? Like, what's going on here? Like, we're doing trivia now? This is a theater with like 1,000 people in it. What are we talking about? And sure enough, like another 5 minutes go by, and all of a sudden they said, "We got a special guest." We all knew what was going to happen, and we thought it was like 1 or 2, but it turns out that it was the whole freaking cast showed up. Patty Jenkins grabs the mic, and she's like, "Hey, look, we weren't supposed to be here. We were in town doing press. We heard that this screening was here, and all you were here. We just wanted to stop by and say thanks," which was perfectly. I mean, it was legit because There was no way that because I mean they would have been there earlier if they had planned to be there, but they probably just like, hey, hold up, we're going to show up. We want to say hello and thank you. And Patty Jenkins spoke, and then Gal Gadot spoke, and she said, the reception for this film, we can't wait. We're very excited. We can't wait for you to see it. Thank you so much. And then they just walked out, and we were like, "Holy shit, this was awesome!" So it was an awesome moment. I've been to a bunch of early screenings, and that was by far and away the best. I think you had one that was just a little bit better than that one, though, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was that one's pretty damn close. But man, the Deadpool one, which I'll share that story a little bit more when we get to Deadpool. But yeah, that one was a little bit crazier. But this was insane though. Like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was a pretty exciting experience, and it sets you up for it. But I also thought it was a really cool thing, a personal story that I had with this is that that's Saturday. So we started on Wednesday. I started again with Jason on Thursday. So I started twice, and it was like Wonder Woman Day that Saturday, I believe it was. Yeah. And yes. I was getting my car wash or something. I walked over to the Royal Collectibles, which is the local comic shop over here in Glendale, Queens. And I strolled in there, and it was like packed with a lot of female fans who were just like going to like Wonder Woman t-shirts, and they had like the wristbands and everything else. And it was like the place was like going nuts about it. They were all sharing how much they loved the movie and how much it meant and stuff like that. Like they got to see like, the female-led superhero and stuff like that, because we're not counting Elektra or we're not counting Catwoman. No one wants to count those. But this is like a big deal, though. I mean, exactly. This is a big deal, and I thought it was just kind of awesome, though. And I got Angie like a beer glass, a Wonder Woman beer glass, and I got her like a pop, I think it was. And I was like, this is pretty awesome, and it kind of just gave me another appreciation of like, a whole section of fans are getting to see like and experience this, for the first time, and it's like not something that we're all completely familiar with because we've never had to like wait so many years to see, like a hero that kind of we could identify like that. So I thought it was a pretty cool, a pretty cool situation that they had going on there, and it was cool.
And the funny part about this whole thing, right, was that didn't we have passes? I had passes to see Wonder Woman on Monday in Hoboken.
Yes, and
we didn't get there in time, and we didn't get in. And I mean, we missed out by like 15 minutes. It was traffic in when there was traffic in Midtown. There was traffic in Midtown. We couldn't get to the ferry, and we got screwed, and we didn't get to go. So, and the next day we were in the office. We were like, oh, I can't believe we missed it. And then this guy over here, right, comes and says, oh, by the way, they're having another one in Lincoln Square on Wednesday. And we're like, holy shit. And we signed up, and we all got it. Right, yep. So Ed got it. Ed got 2 passes. I got a pass. Two guys from work, Pro. They got passes, and so we ended up. So Ed's like, look, we're not going to make the same mistake that we made the last time. Me and Angie are going to go stand online, and they did from like noon for a 7:00 show, and these two sat outside the movie theater. They were like the 5th one in line, right? Was 6th one in line or something like that?
Yeah, so if you've ever been to any of these screenings, especially in Manhattan, and I've been to like quite a few of them now, you get passes. They tell you it doesn't guarantee you anything that you're going to see anything, but you got to get there. So usually I've been 5th in line. For Winter Soldier, I was like 3rd in line. But then what happens is somebody has it, because usually a pass admits 2, and then it was these 2, then these 2, and then these 2, and then they're like, oh, I'm 30th online. Okay. I guess this is how we're doing this. But and again, I don't care as long as I get into the damn screen. Like it doesn't matter. And I've been to a bunch of these screenings already. I didn't care. But yeah, there's a lot of dedication I went into it. But the longest wait was for Winter Soldier. That I will save that for another time. But me and Angie saw Winter Soldier. I think it was like a month and change early. So we saw that movie, and we had to hold that in because we couldn't talk to anyone about it. Right. We don't want to spoil it. We don't want to be assholes. So, that was a big thing. We saw the Avengers actually 2 weeks before everyone at another screening, and that we actually might have been one of the shortest waits we had because we just got super lucky. Yeah, we were like one of the last like 20-something people that were admitted to that thing, and that's a whole nother thing. But whatever. Let's get back to Wonder Woman though.
Yeah, sorry about that, but I had to tell a story because that was tremendous dedication and really, honestly, and congratulations because you're married to a woman that would sit online for 7 hours for a movie out in the middle of the streets of Manhattan. So I mean, some of my best to Angie, but God bless her for doing that because that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. She waited on the Deadpool one with me in the freezing cold. Wonder Woman, Winter Soldier, Avengers. We've been through this for a bit. So and that's probably one of the reasons we're married today. So Wonder Woman. All right, the good Wonder Woman, not Wonder Woman 84, which we did on our first episode. This is the awesome Wonder Woman. My strengths in the movie were Gal Gadot and Chris Pine's incredible on-screen chemistry. They're great together. They can probably do whatever the hell they want together. The humor of the movie was really strong for me. It gets a lot of I think there's a lot of jokes that were told in this that could have went really crass and could have come off really like toilet humor, like dick and fart jokes. But they pull it off incredibly, especially the scenes in the bath on Themyscira where Steve Trevor's in the water. Yeah. And he stands up, and then she's asking questions about, how do you
what
tells you what to do? Yeah, what is that?
What is that? And he's like,
you can see he looks down also. And
yeah,
he does.
That's great.
And,
really?
And she's like, no, that, and he goes, oh, the watch.
Yeah. and then she says something like, oh yeah, like you let this little thing tell you what to do, and all this other stuff, and what awesome. The joke is. But it makes sense though, and it comes off like it's really good writing and acting on their parts. So I thought that was really, really funny. And then in the boat, when the whole do you want to come sleep over here? And then you don't want to sleep with me. You don't sleep with women. Does the average man? Yeah. Does the average man not sleep? Because he refers to are you? She asks him in the water in the bath scene, would you say that you're average for your sex and everything like that? And he goes, well, above average. You can see the jokes that are all there. We all know what they're dancing around, but playfully not really what that is. So what Steve's thinking. We're all thinking what Steve's thinking, and it's funny. And then there's the whole, does the average man not sleep? And he's like, oh, I'll sleep with you if you want. It's fine. And then she goes into the whole, 18, 19 volumes of of the pleasures of the flesh or whatever it was.
Pleasures of the flesh, yeah.
Did you happen to bring them along? And she's like, nope, you wouldn't want to read them.
Yeah.
They say, what is it? Please, go ahead. No, I was gonna say the quote. Did it pretty much determine that though men are necessary for procreation, they're not necessary for pleasure?
Yeah, he's like, oh
yeah, and he's just laying there like, oh yeah.
And then she's like, good night. Hilarious.
He just left there like, oh, okay.
So good.
Oh man,
hilarious. That was a hilarious sequence of events.
But both scenes could have been really could have been falling apart and been really bad or seemed like toilet humor, but they don't because they did it really
and they pulled
really
it
well.
off exactly, and they pulled it off, and it was her with that that Babe in the Woods type of innocence,
naive,
right, that little it's innocence really, because she's never been off the island, she's never been in front of a man before, she's never talked to a man before, she's never seen one before, because you see when she pulls him onto the beach, she says, you're a man, he goes, don't I look like one, so she's never she's never seen a man before, she's never interacted with one before, so she has no idea, so she really plays that part of plays that well. And they go off each other kind of with it, with the the way he's answering, and and the wittiness between the how he's answering to her. Like you said, the chemistry between them is almost instantaneous, and it's really, really well done. And she was never known really for her acting chops. And if you heard a lot of pundits leading up to Wonder Woman, there was always a question: can she handle this part? Is it going to be wooden? Is she going to be able to to pull this off? And just by that part, 15, 20 minutes into the movie, you're like, holy shit, she got it.
Yeah, no, their chemistry is for me, is the strongest part of the movie. And the movie's great, but they really are, a lot of it leans on them heavily. Yeah, Diana's an evolution from naive fish out of water to the hero and
Cunning,
the self-aware
cunning
hero
warrior.
Yeah, which is I think it's great, and you can see the character development throughout the movie. But no scene elevates this more than No Man's Land. Leading up to that, she's seeing, like she's seeing all this, like the shit hit the fan. People talking about, oh yeah, there's this bad war. They can, we can't do anything about it. Everyone keeps telling her we can't do anything about it. We have to get to the people who can. And she sees like the women and children and the soldiers injured, people losing their legs and other limbs and everything. And she's like, you want to know something? I'm the one who's going to do something about it. You may have came here to do this, but I came here to do this. And then, she pulls out the shield. She, takes off the robe and everything. Even that soldier's like, oh shit. Like shit's about to get real. And she goes at it and she just like wrecks shop through that whole thing, that whole army. They're firing at her, all those weapons. She's deflecting them with the bracelets and everything. And she's just kicking ass through the entire war where no one can move. What did he say? Like they couldn't move for a year?
Not an
inch. Gain an inch?
It's been there for an air. They've been able to move, haven't been able to move an inch.
Yeah.
And then she walks out. But I'll tell you though, bro. I mean, we've seen comic book movie after comic book movie, and you've seen introductions to characters and whatnot or whatever. I don't think that we've seen anything like her coming out of that trench and walking into No Man's Land. I get chills even thinking about it, bro. It was shot so beautifully. Seeing her in the outfit for the first time, like you'd seen a little bit here and there, whatever. You knew she had it on underneath the robe, but to see her come out of that trench like that, just with that fearless look in her eye, like I don't give a shit, I'm going and I'm gonna take care of this. And she was just outstanding. And that whole sequence of when she walks out of that trench and when she goes and destroys essentially the top of that church, everything in between that is just beautiful. It's beautifully shot. It's action at its best. She gets her own warehouse scene, which I'm watching it over again. I said, "Wow, like Batman got his in BVS, and now Wonder Woman got her own warehouse scene." Woohoo! But seriously, she kicked ass. It was shot beautifully. I loved that whole sequence. The whole movie could have sucked, but that sequence was phenomenally put.
Yeah, Jason, what did you think of that the No Man's Land scene?
Oh, I mean, obviously, it's one of the best scenes of the movie. It's probably one of the best scenes in any of the DCEU movies. It's so powerful, right? It's like this, as Tony said, just watching Gal Gadot for the first time ascend the trench and become Wonder Woman and see her in the suit and just walk dead center focused, bullet. And you see them missing all around, and like she's just so on. And then when they all realize, oh my God, this woman actually can take us out, and they all focus on her, and she is just using that shield to deflect all of those bullets. I mean, that is the coolest scene ever. That is such a wonderful scene. I loved it.
Yeah, and then once she gets through that part of it, before she goes into the town, and Tony talks about the part where she has her own warehouse scene. The guitar riff that we get from Batman vs. Superman. And then and I was waiting for that like the whole movie. You're just like waiting for this shit to kick in. And they picked like the perfect scene to kick that thing in when she's really just wrecking shop. I mean, it is right there. No Man's Land is right there with the Batman's warehouse scene. I mean, they're like toe to toe. If you want to say with Man of Steel that has like First Flight is a big scene for a lot of people where that's a really powerful scene. I mean, they're all powerful scenes. You can pick whatever, and you're not going to be wrong about it. But man, No Man's Land is like really some kick-ass shit that goes on there.
And
the funny thing is, go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
I really like how it led up to No Man's Land. Like you see her kicking ass on Themyscira, you know her training, you know exactly what she can do, and then you have that super cool scene where they get attacked in London by the people who were trying to get the doctor's book back. And Chris Pine is like, oh, no, don't worry about this. And they shoot him and she blocks it and then wrecks house on those guys. Like that. I love that. Like there's this buildup of like, oh, she can do this and she can do this and she can do this. By the time we get to that scene, it's like, oh, she can literally just do anything. She's awesome, So I really appreciated that build up to the moment too in the movie.
It was earned. The No Man's Land was earned that you could see leading up to that. And also, yeah, that's a great scene to mention, by the way, the scene in the alley, which was a nod to Richard Donner's original 1978 Superman, with obviously the roles being reversed there, which I thought was also cool because we, as much as we didn't really care for Wonder Woman 84, there was nods to, Superman 2. So you can see Patty Jenkins as, tipping her cap to the origins of the DC films in general, pre-DCEU, which I think is a pretty cool thing to lead its way through. And also something that kind of almost made me get more angry at Wonder Woman 84 is that scene where in Wonder Woman, where she's trying on all the dresses and the outfits.
Me too.
Right?
I got so angry watching that because I went, this is such a cool scene, and now I understand what you were doing in 1984, and it sucked. Why did you do it?
Yep.
Why did you try to ruin this scene for me?
Yeah, this is it working. That was it not working. And they played for laughs too with the sword and the shield. And I'm sorry, his secretary's name.
Etta Candy.
She is hilarious
awesome.
in this with that whole thing. She's like, I wouldn't be opposed to getting.
I like her. I would call that slavery.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I like her so much. I just the last thing about the No Man's Land thing is that if you're a comic book movie fan, there are certain scenes of certain movies where if you just say, the warehouse scene or the airport scene or the Battle of New York or any of those scenes, right? The portals, right? Yeah. Titan or what all the Battle of Wakanda, like what movie it came from, and you could picture it vividly in your head. And I have to say, No Man's Land is among the top of all of those scenes because it was that powerful of a scene. It was the unveiling of a character that we all waited so many years. There had been so many different attempts to put Wonder Woman on the screen, to do it right, to make this movie, to make it to the point where people were going to care about it enough for it to make money, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park with it. And that scene was the culmination of it all. And I remember watching her come up that ladder, and I'm like, God damn, this is about to get serious right now. And it was, I can't stress enough how long people waited for it and how great that payoff was when she came out like that.
Yeah, and I think it's important too that they took the time to set up Themyscira and the Amazons and everything, because a lot of like mainstream fans and stuff like that, I don't really like comic fans, only know like Linda Carter Wonder Woman. Nothing.
Yeah, they don't know anything about the Amazonians.
No, nothing against her incarnation, because for its time, it's awesome. But you had to set the stage for this. Like, why Wonder Woman is part of the DC Trinity? Why is Wonder Woman able to go toe to toe with like Doomsday? Because if you remember BVS, at one point she's just going toe to toe with Doomsday on her own, while Superman is like regenerating in space, and Batman is trying not to get killed, like bouncing around the place. Like,
right, and she's kicking his ass a little bit there. So
yeah, so you have to really set the tone of how powerful Wonder Woman is. I mean, out of them, right? She's a trained warrior since birth. Like, she is programmed essentially to be this warrior. I mean, hand-to-hand combat, she's more well trained as a warrior than Superman is.
Yeah,
she's
literally named the God Killer.
Exactly. Which, by the way, none of us were fooled, I don't think, by that whole thing in the film where there's like the sword is the God Killer instead of her, and by the way, we also get another parent like Pa Kent, who has this hero, this super powerful hero, and is trying to scale them back the entire film for what they believe is their own good. And then meanwhile, you're like, maybe you shouldn't have done that.
But and after watching this movie, that was probably the thing that I had the biggest problem with was the storyline that they gave Hippolyta was to not tell her about all of this, because so you think that you're going to save her by not letting Ares know that she's coming, right? But as you saw, the minute that she walked into into that room, he knew who she was. He knew exactly who she was.
Nobody was
and you saw what happened, how he kicked her ass the first half of that fight, because she had no idea. And she says, you don't understand. So fucking make me understand. And that's what she didn't do. And she put her at a disadvantage from the very beginning. If she had told her that story and she had been prepared from the very beginning, she may have seen it coming beforehand. You know, she may have been looking for different characteristics than, you know, maybe she wouldn't have been fooled by the idea that that Ludendorff was Ares. So I agree with you. I think that portion, and that's a big drawback for me, was that the philosophy that she wouldn't tell her because she was trying to protect her. And meanwhile, you're actually, if you're as a cunning warrior as you are, right? And they obviously they went and told that story. You would have known that she had to know before she left that island who she was and how powerful she actually was.
Yeah, and it's funny because the first person I thought of while I was watching that was Jason. When I thought about his comments about Paul Kent, about Jonathan Kent, when we were doing the Man of Steel episode, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of really, really similar. And I don't think I actually looked at it like this in the other 14 times I've watched this damn movie. Like, I'm like, yeah, I kind of see it in a different light now. Like, he's put me onto this. Another one.
I'm curious if they did that on purpose, because Wonder Woman and Superman are they're both gods in their own right. Yeah. They're not similar in power, but similar in morality and purity. Like the Holy Trinity, it's like, they're way, way more similar than anyone is to Batman. So I'm kind of curious if that was a conscious through line they wanted to do about having this parental figure trying to hold you back in a detrimental way that messes up the plot.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Definitely possible. Sure.
I thought another thing that I thought was really strong with this film is how the bookends of the current day of Diana finding the picture. Bruce Wayne's truck brings the picture to her where she is. But no, the thing what I really liked about it though is because it's subtly referenced in the beginning, the opening of the film, and at the end. That's the only things that tie this into the DCEU, really. And that's all you really needed, because that's the story really didn't have to be that.
It was an origin story.
It was an origin story. But you said it, you're like, hey, we're going to take like 2 minutes in the beginning and at the end to let you know this is in the DCEU, and that's it. And it didn't bog it down. It didn't tie it down where it was like, we have to answer all these things. They were able to, Patty Jenkins was able to tell her own story while weaving it in very, very nicely. And then and then the score I thought was really strong in this film. The guitar riff and a lot of the other things, like it was just really well done. I know it wasn't like Hans Zimmer and Chunky XL this time, but I didn't actually write down who did the score for this film, but I can't remember who it was, but they do tie in her theme a couple of times. They hint at it, and then they really let it explode in No Man's Land, which I think was really good. Before we get to weaknesses, do you guys have any other strengths to share?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tony.
No, I was just going to say, I thought the cinematography was fantastic. I felt that the mascara was beautiful, and it was, as perfect as they possibly could have made it. Based upon the information in the comics, if you were going to make the mascara, this was definitely the way. It was a paradise, and that's exactly the way it was described. The hiding of it from the way that Zeus hit it, which I find almost identical to Wakanda, which is hilarious. But I thought it was really well done that way. I thought that them pulling into port in London was done so well. How everyone pictures London as this big powerful place, and meanwhile it was a shithole at that point in the middle of the war, which was portrayed perfectly. I thought even the opening sequence when the armored truck pulled in by the Louvre, I thought that was beautifully shot, looking down straight through the top of the Louvre and through the Pyramid of Glass. I just thought this movie was shot really, really beautifully, much better than Wonder Woman 84, I thought. And that's another, if you're going to compare the two movies side by side, which you have to, because you're setting up, as we talked about earlier, there are scenes that were, that they had in the original Wonder Woman, and now you flipped the script and did it in Wonder Woman 84. So now you're going to have to compare the two, and there's no comparison between the two films when it comes to that way. I thought this movie was beautifully shot. In addition to, as you said, the score, the acting, the action sequences, it was done really, really well. So.
Jason?
I think there's some great choices in this movie that I want to point out, like setting it during World War I. I think is a great choice. It's very easy to set something during World War II. It's one of the few instances where the sequel is considered more exciting than the original, so to speak. Right. But the fact that they made the choice that it's going to be World War II and it's going to have that backdrop, I thought really added so much to what was going on in the movie. I think the guy who played Ludendorff, I love that guy. I love Ludendorff. I would have been okay if he was the villain of this movie and there was no Ares. I would have been fine with it if they just beefed him up, because I really liked that actor and I liked that character. We didn't touch on Dr. Maru, which I really liked, that creepy, like, sort of prosthetic she wears.
Yeah.
And their whole plot, like, I think that all of that stuff was really interesting to me. And I love that Chris Pine, though he is a soldier, is a spy.
Yeah.
which is different than being a soldier, and the dynamic is he's the spy and she's the soldier, and they stick to that. Like, he doesn't go half cocked into things because that's not his character, and it could be very easy to give him a going in guns blazing moment in this movie.
It's like almost like he's pulling her back at points.
Right, yeah. Exactly, because he's the spy and that's his mentality. And the fact that they were able to keep those character beats consistent and not go for the easy, like, well, he's got to go get some kills in because he's a guy, you know? I mean, I really enjoyed all of those choices. So that's just stuff I wanted to throw in. You guys touched on most of the big things.
Yeah. Can I also just add the last thing that I thought was just amazingly done was the lasso of Hastia. Okay, the scene when they have it wrapped around him and he's fighting with every piece of his being.
I am a spy.
To not give away.
I am a spy.
I am a spy. and then he's like, I'm a spy. Like, he's saying it like, I'm feeling better now. It's not hurting. But it's so well done.
It's so
and then
good.
he takes it and wraps around his hand to show her that he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna die.
We're probably gonna die.
Really bad idea. Like, you can see, like, it's why she believes him, because she can tell he's telling the truth, because he's saying shit that she's not gonna want to hear.
Right,
but he has to tell the truth. So it was done so well. I loved it. I love that how they explain it, how and then because nobody understands how the shit works. And the Linda Carter thing, she used to just whip it around you, and then you just started singing the tune. But now to explain, like, it don't try to fight it. It's gonna be painful, and he tried to fight it. And again. A great scene with Chris Pine. The way he acted that scene out. Loved it.
So it's funny is that when we get to the weaknesses of the film. I mean, I'll share mine quick. There's not a lot though. I would have to follow up on what Jason was saying though. But I actually thought the villains were the weak part of the film for me. I thought the battle with the whole Ares thing, I thought was kind of like, I'm not gonna act like I knew immediately who Ares was right off the bat, but you knew it wasn't Ludendorff. Like that was clear. I'm not gonna say I pinpointed this guy immediately, but no, I didn't. I just figured there was something else. Somebody else was going on. But when we get to that fight at the end, though, and it is him, and you're like, all right, it's fine. But he's essentially throwing. I'm sorry, Tony. What was it? The circle of garbage from Suicide Squad? Like,
it was a circle of garbage. That was what it was.
He's essentially pulling trash and arming himself with it and just throwing shit, like literally throwing shit at her at the end. I mean, I like the idea that she gets to fight Ares, but I don't know. I think I just would have had him more in some sort of like badass armor and just like, just fighting her, and not with just like random anything he can find at the base at the time. That I thought that was a little goofy to me. And Ludendorff and Dr. Poison, I don't know, like they're way over the top in my opinion. And at times though, it kind of seems like they're in a different movie to me. Like they just seem like at times, and I don't know, like I don't hate them, but I think there's some of the weaker parts of it. I can watch them and be fine with it, but like the whole goofy laughs behind, "Ooh, they're not gonna know," and they don't know what hit them type thing when the door closes, when they drop in like the super mustard gas and everything. I don't know. I mean, if I have to nitpick, then I would say that's probably it. In other words, I do love the film, but I just think the villains could have been stronger. I don't know. I just found them to be a little weak and out of place at times.
I agree with you that the villains could have been stronger. I mean, I did like that. I did actually kind of like that interaction with oh, they don't know that, because these guys are just pure evil, and that's what we're learning. That's what they're telling us here. This goes beyond war. This goes beyond duty to country. They're just evil and they enjoy this stuff. And so I mean, I could see that maybe it was a bit over the top. I think if they were your main villains, and I think that's my only problem with this movie. Is this movie doesn't have a villain necessarily, and it doesn't realize that maybe it doesn't need one. Like, I don't think we like. I like the dude who plays Ares. He was in the Harry Potter movies. As
Yeah,
exactly. And so I was glad to see him. And my wife watched this with me last night, and she just kept laughing at the end because she was like, "Oh, that's funny that they put that guy as Ares. That's because he's so old and boring looking." And I think, I like the idea that she gets to fight Ares. But I also kind of think like he comes in not out of nowhere because he is a through line, but I don't even necessarily think Ares needs to be in this movie as more of a concept of war. And I get it; they want to have a big fight, so that's why I said I think if I was, and again, I'm nitpicking at this point. I like this movie as it stands, but if I had to come up with something. I kind of question, would this movie be stronger if we never actually met Ares and Ares was just a concept she was chasing? And she kind of has to learn that, well, not all war is created necessarily by Ares, which I think is the point of what she's supposed to learn. Like Steve Trevor tells her, sometimes we're just bad. And I think that lesson might have been stronger on her if Ares then didn't appear and go, "Oh, I've been doing all of this for a long time," So I think that kind of undercuts a bit of the movie, as much as that fight scene is what it is. There are fine points. There are points I'm not crazy about, but I think if I were going to revise this movie, I would just cut Ares out as a character, and I would just sort of tinker with Ludendorff and Dr. Poison as more of a main villain and give them things to do outside of you think we're Ares. One of us is Ares, aren't we? Which is kind of what Ludendorff does in a very entertaining way throughout the movie. Yeah. So if I was gonna have a negative, that would be it. But everything I said is meaningless in the light of the fact that I like this movie as it stands, and really just needed to find something to say in this segment.
Exactly. That's pretty much me nitpicking on it. I mean, again, the movie plays out great for me anyway, so. It's not this, but no, you make good points though. I mean, I don't know. I do see where the studio would want a big fight, a villain boss battle at the end. So I guess you had to come up with something. I mean, that's essentially what we ripped into them for with Cheetah, because that's the only reason Cheetah is in Wonder Woman 84. So Wonder Woman has something to punch. Because I mean, her and Max Lord would be over in like less than a half a second.
I mean that would be good, but it could be better.
Wow, I like it.
I've been waiting to do that for a month and a half now. I've been just waiting for the right moment to put that in.
Wonder Woman is good. It could be better. Tony, what are your do you have any weaknesses for Wonder Woman or?
Yeah, I mean, it just to expand, I guess, on what you guys were talking about. Look, they tried to walk you through the whole idea that Ludendorff was Ares the whole way. I mean, from when she gives him the gas to smell, she says to keep up your strength. Okay, so what is that alluding to? It's alluding to the fact that he was injured in the fight with Zeus, and that to keep up your strength. He would be old, obviously, from all of that time. He could have. They even a hint in Themyscira that he could have died from his injuries, which Hippolyta knows right off the bat that was definitely. Oh no, Hippolyta was the one that said that. It's Antiope that says that that it definitely that he definitely survived and he's out there. So they try to give you that look. I mean, I saw sometimes when that happens, like I never even gave it a second thought. I knew that Ludendorff wasn't Ares, and sometimes I say, like, did I miss that? And then I watch it again and I'm like, no, I didn't miss it. It's just that I never believed that actually could have been the case. So you always knew that somebody else was coming. I will tell you that I never thought in a million years that David Thewlis was going to be Ares. I never thought that was going to be the case. The way that she finds out that she's so convinced that it's Ludendorff, and then when he shows up, and he was in that tower with her, and I was like, wow, that was it was well done. It was well done to get there, to use the fact that he sent her into this whole thing, and even the speech that he gives her, like he gives her the speech, like, look, I am the god of war, but I didn't do this. Like I've poisoned them over time to basically want to fight with each other. So he's basically telling her, like, yeah, I may be the god of war, but not all war is started by me. Like, it's just I just guide them in certain directions, and they take it from there. So it's basically him giving the idea that it's free will, and we've had other movies that are based upon, the devil
Devil's
saying
advocate.
that exactly.
Wow.
That's what you're making me think of right now.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I was talking about. I can give you the tools, but you actually have to carry it out, and it's all basically done by free will. So he gives her that speech, which is, I thought, well done, because if you think about it, if she kills Ares, does that mean that there's no war ever again? So they definitely cover their bases at that point, doing that. That being said, I thought that the fight with Ares could have been a little bit better. I thought that it was a little toned down, considering that you have two gods going at it with one another. I'll give it, albeit one didn't know that she was a god until probably about halfway through the fight, and she figures out her shit pretty quick at that point, which is good to see, obviously. But I would have thought that it would have been better if there would have been more back and forth between the two of them. But they just wanted to show that she was so powerful that he never stood a chance against her once she realized who she was and what she had going for her. So yeah, essentially. And the god of junk. That's how she assembled his armor of that's what it is. We had the circle of garbage, and now we have the god of junk. So that's basically how we got there. I thought and this is not a weakness for me. I thought that the Steve Trevor sacrificing of himself scene was beautifully done. I know we didn't talk about this earlier, but the fact that he gets on that plane and he doesn't even think about it, the speech that he gives her, like, I can save us now, but you need to save us going forward, like, is just it's such a great message. It really is. It's like, I can stop this, but you need to protect us going forward. Like, you need to stay here. And it was perfectly done. And, even him flying up and him starting to laugh, that nervous laugh, like, I did what I had to do, and I got myself to this point. I'm going to be able to save everybody, but I'm scared shitless that I'm going to blow myself up with all of this stuff. It was a beautiful scene. But the thing that annoys me about the whole thing now is that you've trivialized all of that by bringing him back in Wonder Woman 84. And the fact that he shows up again after, and look, I hadn't seen, it'd been years since I saw Wonder Woman, before I saw Wonder Woman 84. So it didn't bother me it bothered me, but it didn't bother me as much. After watching it now and seeing this great performance by this guy, by Chris Pine, and that last scene of him in the plane, that laughing, turning around with the gun, should have been the last time you ever saw Steve Trevor. And it's a goddamn shame that they had to bring him back in 84. So that's a drawback for me, because you had such a great death and ending scene, and you trivialized it by for no reason. For no reason. You shouldn't have done it. So, but that's it. I mean, I love this. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite DCU movies. It's one of my favorite comic book movies. I love it. But, I hate to have a sequel trivialize something, or make an original movie, have a problem with it for something that they didn't need to do.
Yeah, and we've seen through a bunch of different franchises that have unfortunately made that mistake, where you have like a great original movie, and then the sequels just kind of like,
and you cheapen it.
You cheapen it. So you either choose to isolate the original movie and pretend the sequels didn't exist, and then many years later, somebody will come along and make a sequel and say, "Hey, we're just going to make a sequel that ignores all the sequels," like Halloween did, and they did that phenomenally, actually, in my opinion.
Or even Superman.
Rocky Balboa.
Right?
Rocky Balboa ignored Rocky 5.
Yeah, and then Superman Returns tried to do that and say, hey, only Superman. Yeah, let's ignore 3 and 4 and go from there. But sometimes you hit the home run with it. Sometimes you don't. All right, so I guess that pretty much wraps it up for us this week. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. For the Pop Culture Pros shows for the week, before we return, is I think Jada and Kyle are back tomorrow. Just Too Sweet, who usually is on before us on Tuesdays. If you're into wrestling, that's their thing. You can go check them out. 4 Quarters show, I'm pretty sure they're on tomorrow night. A to Z shows on Monday night. And I noticed we said we were going to do it last week, but we decided to hold off a week on purpose. But me and Tim will be bringing back Empire 161 back next week. So if you're into baseball and the Yankees are your thing, or Star Wars are your thing, we don't really have. We're not going to be diving into that because baseball season's coming on right now. We're going to mainly focus on baseball, but join us for that and check it out. For Granny's Peach Tea, we'll be back. We'll be back next week. We'll figure out an hour meeting to make sure what time we're going to do that, because next week Superman and Lois premieres next Tuesday night. I'm pretty sure it's at 8:00. So we'll decide and we'll let everyone know exactly when we'll be back. It probably will be Tuesday or not, but we'll figure things out. We'll let everyone know. All right. So enjoy your weeks. Have a good time. Stay safe. Do your thing. And until next time.